Well, there goes the Daverhood. Good morning and welcome. I love the pointing. I have a spring. In my step, ladies and gentlemen, because it is Saturday, March 20th, the first day of spring. We made it through two winters of these insane, crazy times that we live in. Because it is Dave's Gone By. And I'm Dave Lefkowitz. That is my darling and adorable and wonderful wife, Joyce, who is helping me and hanging with me during the program and monitoring the Facebook stuff and the chat stuff and the watch party stuff, and inviting everybody to take part in this weekly program that we call Dave's Gone By. A mix of humor and talk and music and interviews and all the usual stuff that we do. And we're going to do all of it today on this March 20th, 2021. So let me tell you a little bit about this particular episode of Dave's Gone By. First of all, well, we got some of the usual stuff to do. We have a lot of Greeley crimes and old times to do for you. So, living in Greeley, Colorado, about 45 minutes north of Denver, and about 25 minutes over from Fort Collins. It's nice little mini city that has one newspaper, the Greeley Tribune. And it's a quote-unquote normal newspaper except for two columns that are in there every single week. One of them is called Cop Log, which has to do with phone calls that come into the Greeley Police Department Weld County Dispatch. They're public record, and these aren't the ones of like, oh my God, they're people vandalizing and doing a home invasion. This is more like, oh my God, my neighbor's horse just went up and peed on my side of the fence. And this will make like page 3 of the Tribune. It will also make Cop Log. So these are all the phone calls of weird things happening in the community that the police department has to, at the very least, screen. And the Trib gets the best of the screenage and shares it with everyone every week. We share it too on Greeley Crimes and Old Times, where we mix it with another column in the paper called, that's Cop Log. Then there's Old Times, which has to do with our friend Mike Peters going through the newspapers from 100 years ago in Greeley, Colorado, and picking out the weirdest, funniest, most nostalgic, the things that you would look at today and look at 100 years ago and say, so this is what they were writing about back then. We mix them together in Greeley Crimes and Old Times.
David, watch party's going away on April 16th.
They're killing Watch Party on Facebook?
So starting April 16th, Watch Party will no longer be available on Facebook. This means you'll no longer be able to create or view watch parties. If you'd like to download your past watch parties, learn more.
Wow. Well, isn't that charm? Are they going to replace it with anything else, or they're just saying...
No.
Well...
Probably they're doing the groups is going to be, I don't know. That's terrible.
Maybe that's why the watch parties have been so iffy the past past few weeks. Because one of the nice things about this show is, yes, I'm streaming. Yes, I'm on Facebook. Yes, I'm public, which I think means that you don't even have to be a Facebook member. If you go to the site, if you go to the Dave's Gone By Facebook page and you want to watch the program live, you can. It shouldn't matter. I'm assuming.
Things aren't working.
I'm public. But one of the things that Joyce used to do was kind of control and conduct the watch party. So people could group together. They could type in chat messages, talk to each other, talk to Joyce and me, make their comments. Anyway, it was kind of this cool, nice, connected thing, but also semi-separate thing. Well, that's going for a while. It wasn't working. You couldn't invite people. Now we know why. They're killing it on Facebook because they just want to seed everything, I guess, to Instagram and TikTok. I don't know. But, okay, whatever. You're going to have to watch it the old-fashioned way, old-fashioned circa like 2015, which means just going here to the Facebook page, watching and posting here. You can leave messages right on this show either while it's live or if you're watching later. And the show is automatically archived on Facebook. It's one of the good things that they do. So, you can post there. And you can also email me, davesgoneby@aol.com. AOL.com is the way to do that. Dave's Gone By at AOL.com. But anyway, more about this particular episode of the program. We also have our weekly, and I apologize in advance for this, our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. So I'm a poet, and I know it, and I've written more than 160 horrible, rude, evil even, poems about various places in beautiful Colorado. Not all of them are beautiful, but it's Colorado. Most of it's beautiful. Even these sagebrushy, ridiculous towns with one gas station and just dust everywhere. If you look up rather than down, it's beautiful. It's Colorado. So I've been writing week after week, month after month, year after year now, all these little 5-line poems, these limericks, that celebrate in a horrible, disgusting way and every single one of these places that I can come up with. And yes, we have a new one for you this week on Dave's Gone By. We will be going to Ellicott, Colorado. What? Now, why oh no? Tell me, dear, why oh no? I think Joyce...
Already I see some problems.
She realizes the rhyming possibilities of something called Ellicott.
That's unfortunate.
If you can think of them, I've already thought of them, and I've put them down, and you will be nauseated and horrified by our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, devoted to Ellicott, Colorado. We also, speaking of nauseating and horrifying, we have a nauseating, horrifying story, rarely, but we have it this week, when we do Inside Broadway. Now, Inside Broadway, we're starting to hear, the rumblings are happening of what's going to happen with theater in New York. Not quite so much with Broadway, although a little bit of that is starting to pop. But in terms of off-Broadway and other things happening, and places doing hybrids of part virtual or still streaming virtual, but also doing things outside, or doing things very distanced.
It's mostly off-Broadway, right?
It will be mostly off-Broadway or in weird places like the Armory. What do they call that in New York? The Fifth Avenue Armory, whatever they call it. Places like that, or St. Anne's Warehouse, where the place holds 800 people and you're letting 80. But you also stream it, and they're figuring out ways, because people are just, it's been a year, and people are getting the first shot, and they're getting the second shot, and so they feel like, okay, we've done our due diligence. We've worn the goddamn masks, right? We've stayed away from our families. We haven't visited people in the nursing. We haven't flown. We haven't traveled. We haven't done this. We haven't sat in a restaurant. But now, okay, the curve is way down. The third wave's over, and we're getting the shots.
I think actually feminism is in the fourth wave.
Oh, Joyce is saying feminism is in the fourth wave. So, yeah, women are getting their shots too, and complaining less about them than men. That's a classic thing. That's when I work in a school district, and so we're all in the midst of getting our shots, because I'm too young, or have been too young, to go to the local places where 65 and now it's 60-year-olds and whoever for the past bunch of weeks, only they could get, because they want to get the most vulnerable, and they figure the oldsters, the geezers, they should get the shots first because they're most at risk. I get it. But it takes a lot more time to slow down a virus if not everyone is getting it. You can give a 70-year-old the shot if they're being visited by a daughter bringing food, or they're bringing home health aid and they don't have the shots. What's the point?
A lot of people are vaccinated, because Como, when he emails me every night before he suggests naughty things, will tell me that.
Yeah. And by the way, Governor Cuomo, he got his shot this week. He got the J&J shot. He gets this big macho dude. There's this guy who's like got his hands on every possible girl he sees around him. Does he go for the twofer? Does he go for the first one, then wait 3 weeks, then the second? No. Johnson & Johnson, one and done. The rest of us, oh yeah, you gotta go to Aqueduct. And I'm telling you, where I work, we're getting it because it's a school district. We've been entitled to get the shot for the past 2 months. We just haven't been able to, because there's no place to get them until. Get our name on the list. I talked about this all of last week, of going to Aqueduct, or getting the shot, right? And another guy in my office, he got the shot. And we both come in, and we're both men. So we're both, oh, my arm! Oh, my poor little arm! And then we were trying to top each other. It was like, I'm like, can you do this? And he's like, oh, no, I can't do it. It's like, it's, just in a fun way. But we were goofing on. Meanwhile, the women, my bosses had children. And she's like, guys, have you ever pushed a baby out of you? And you were complaining about a vaccination needle in your eye. Seriously? And we have another woman who works in our office, and she just got the shot last Friday. And I was like, well, how was you? And she's like, my arm hurt a little the next day. It was nothing. I'm like, no, it's not nothing. My arm hurt for a week. It was sore for like 3 days, like sore that I couldn't not concentrate on it. It wasn't pain. It was ache and soreness, but enough of like I was gingerly moving it around. I did not, and this is horrible.
You had the ice pack.
I had the ice pack the first day. I should have done it more. I did not take off the Band-Aid until a week after I got this shot. Did I mention I'm needle phobic? I'm just such a wuss about these things. I had that Band-Aid. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to know what microbes were dancing around under the Band-Aid. I didn't know if I was going to get
my bruise finally went away.
What went away?
My bruise.
Oh, well, yeah. Joyce, who bruises really, really easily. She's got fair skin. And since I've known her, and since I've been beating her mercilessly, she's just all over the legs, all over the arms. I'm always nervous in the summer that people will see her, and they'll see like black and blue marks along her legs, and think, "Oh my God, what is he doing to her?" Yeah. And I'm doing it, but normally I try and do it like the cops do with a phone book, where you don't actually see the bruising. But no, she's just one of those, and she had a black and blue mark at the injection site for I think 5 or 6 days it took to go away. Maybe it took a full week. But your arm, how sore was your arm? Because we got the shot 10 minutes apart from each other.
When I was an HIV counselor.
Louder, yeah. When she was an HIV counselor, yeah.
I used to have to get hepatitis and other shots because I was around blood products. Those hurt worse. This wasn't as bad.
Yeah, and one of the things that both the guy in the office and I noticed and realized, and Joyce realized this too, is for some miserable reason. So you're going into this place, you're going into Aqueduct Raceway, or I think he went to Jones Beach or something. And where do they give you the shot? They give it to you in the arm, all right. They don't give it to you in the tum-tum, which is where I remember like diabetes people like to give them shows. No, because there's fat. There's glutinous, gooey, skin, taggy, flappy excrescence in your, that's not the word, but down there. And they could give it to you there. They don't. And they don't give it to you in your tushy.
Oh God, here we go.
Which is where I used to get shots when I was a kid.
You're obsessed with you have like a tush obsession.
Of course I have a tush obsession. But it's also, there's this thing of, I remember when I was a child, and I was already scared of shots, the doctor, he would come to the house, and he would lay me down on, I don't think he would give me shots in the house.
Is this going to be like some kind of molestation? I don't know where this is going. You come to the house and lay me down. Those are not things I want to hear.
It was Dr. Michael Jackson. No, it was, lay me down on the thing, pants, or shorts, whatever I was wearing as a kid, then my pinafores were down around my ankle. Because, of course, I wore pinafores.
You're lederhosen.
And, you feel first the little swab, and then zoop in the tush, I screamed, and then poop on.
That was our first date. That wasn't a shot. That was our first date.
But that's the way they did it. And they did it because your tushy is one of the softest things. And I think when you're a child, it'll heal quicker, you can sit on it quicker. As an adult, I wonder, like if a shot hurts in your butt, and then you have to go in and sit in an office all day, how that's going to feel. But we realized that they're giving us this shot, and it's going into a muscle. They're not even doing like just a fatty, why not the weenus? Why not this little hangy, I'll show it to you, like this stuff under my elbow. Well, I can't really show it to you. Like when you go, and it's kind of, just sort of hangs there like a little flap. It's just skin. Ain't no muscle there. This is just weenus territory. So why not give the shot to the belly or the tushy or the weenus. They have to do it, not just in the arm,
I'm gonna look
but
at.
right in a muscle.
I can't look it up because I'm inviting people to your watch.
Oh, no, it's fine, but I'm curious about this because you don't need
It's
the
my phone, yeah.
the medicine, the antibacterial things, the virus-killing stuff in your muscles, and you need it in your bloodstream, right? It's not as if you have terrible sore muscles or you've got horrible fused back, spinal, neck things where you go for steroids and then when you get, boom, we gotta get in this muscle. You would want this stuff in an opposite area, you know. This guy, and of course they're working on ways to do a spray. You know, I mean, maybe in a year when the virus is gone, they'll figure out, oh, we could have done this in a pill all along. You just hold this capsule on your tongue for a minute and a half, and then you're good. It's like no. Always first with that, right? So my arm is better. It's been almost 2 weeks since my next shot, and now, oh God, another week or so until.
I think maybe is it intramuscular? I don't know. I'm looking up.
Well, yeah, intra or in between muscles,
No, I know,
or in the muscle. Why?
I can't see.
Joyce is looking up on her phone. Why the
It might be.
Because in other words, why does it have to be inside the toughest, most gristly, and the thing you move around all the time?
Because it has. I think it's intramuscular. I can't see without my glasses.
It's cool. It's cool.
But I think that's what it is.
But because I'm literally and stupid me, and I'll do this again because this is me. The moment after I come back from the shot, and I'm pale and I'm sweating and I'm sitting down in beautiful Aqueduct Raceway begging parlor.
They were playing like Bad Romance. I remember that.
They played Lady Gaga's Bad Romance. Yeah. We walked in for the shot.
Yeah.
And you're in a sterile facility when they're playing Justin Timberlake's Sexy Back.
Oh, they were playing that?
Yes. As we're walking in, it's like, oh my God. Yeah. And it's like, I want my sexy back. What? People getting vaccinated here.
I think that's the soundtrack they have for the betters.
I'm sure. They haven't changed anything. Yeah. They've got old horse races going on a giant screen outside. They've got machines that are plowing the racetrack to make it nice for horses that aren't even running. And they haven't decorated, except for signs saying, please no photography. You know why they don't want photography? Because you're getting vaccinated in a shithole and nobody wants to see it.
No, because it's HIPAA.
Oh, and you're now allowed to show other people getting them. All right, fine. But it's just, and you're going there.
Well, you know what disturbed me the most? When we left, some of the lawn jockeys were not white. Remember?
Oh,
I'll take it next time. We'll go and we'll take a better picture.
If you go to Aqueduct, and I know you do, and you walk in the main entrance, whether it's to get a shot or months from now. It's from the other, or at least they're using this for the exit. For the shots, literally coming out of the exit, going towards the parking lot, they've got 24 lawn jockeys, and they're actual jockeys, because they're horse racing jockeys. Yeah. And I think maybe they were all black at one point, and it may have been spray painted, or maybe
it's uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, because you see jockeys on lawns, you're thinking, but traditionally, the horse racing jockeys, at least in America, they weren't black people; they were midgets. Weren't they, or little tiny people?
No, well, you have to be small, so jockeys have to be tiny to be on a horse. If you're like the guy from Paradise PD, if he's on the horse is going to pretty much die.
Oh yeah. But I'm wondering is there such a racial thing with jockeys? Because
I don't know. It doesn't matter. But the idea of it's like a post-colonialism. It's like uncomfortable, weird.
Yeah. Well, it's betting. It's betting on a horse. There's all sorts of kind of morally questionable things going on.
Yes. The only thing we didn't see were any hookers, right? Any sex workers.
I don't know. I think some of those women walking around asking if you were okay. Because they do. They go back and forth with
it. You think those nurses were really...
Oh, yeah. Come on. How much money do you think they're making just to walk around and wipe some surfaces down?
When I asked her, I said, look, am I okay or will I go into anaphylactic shock now? She's like, you're good. She seemed to know.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're not, within 5 minutes of the shot, if you're okay.
I don't know.
But just the idea of, everybody was fine. We didn't see any incidents or anything like that. But could you imagine if someone did go into anaphylactic shock or have a bad
And the
reaction,
last thing
and
you
it's an
The
aqueduct.
last thing you remember is them someone singing "I'm Bringing Sexy Back."
That's right. I'm saying Lady Gaga, want to take a ride on your disco stick?
And
I'm dying! I'm supposed to be hearing Mozart now. I'm supposed to have a Soylent Green moment with Beethoven or whatever the hell was playing.
Yeah, Harps of Angels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you're so sick. I want to take a ride on your dick. Come on!
I was Wrecking Ball.
Yeah. Please. And after we have to go back there and do this again in about 7 days, I'm just mad because somehow the governor gets the J&J shot.
Yeah.
And by the way, I am a little surprised that he didn't get any shot for like the last 3 months.
Yeah.
If there's anybody who should be and is entitled to get the shot first,
Yes.
it should be about in a high public position. I mean, Trump was getting hydrochloroquine back in December. He also got the disease back in December. But so I credit him for not taking a shot from someone else, if you will. But I'm also he was able to wait for the J&J. I get it, Well, the only thing that's going to make me really mad
What?
is if, like the day we get the shot, that will be the day that J&J will be available on Long Island. That will be the day they say, oh, you could have come in like tomorrow, gotten one shot and done. And I'll be sitting there with my arm like,
This healthcare, it makes me so mad when the healthcare system, getting access to healthcare is like winning the lottery. That's messed up.
Yeah.
This healthcare system is falling apart. It's so fragmented.
Oh, it's terrible. Although you got to figure, we're all getting these shots. They're all free. They're
billing your insurance,
What? Oh, you
we
think?
Put our insurance in when you go, yeah.
I thought just the government's giving Moderna and Pfizer and J&J. There's AstraZeneca in Europe.
Yeah.
They've got AstraZeneca. Remember the commercials for that stuff?
Are we okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I got my morning phlegm, everybody. Speaking of phlegm, coming up. I'm good. I'm just.
Want water?
I got this. I just.
Don't cough. Don't do that.
Drinking from the wrong mug here. Okay. Speaking of phlegm, I haven't even mentioned who else is going to be on this episode of Dave's Gone By. So yes, you love him, you know him, you can't pray without him. He's Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and a spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And he is a particular pleasure and honor this Saturday morning, in about half an hour, in fact. He will be talking to a musician, a pianist especially, and an actor and a writer. He is a triple threat. That's why I haven't even signaled some of the stuff that's going on here. His name is Hershey Felder. He's been on Broadway. He did a show called George Gershwin Alone. He's also done, there are these interesting hybrids of concert and bio, right? So he's done these for people like Chopin and Rachmaninoff, and he did one for Irving Berlin. So he crosses between the classical music boundary and also the show tunes boundary as well. And he's done for, I don't think he's done Berlioz yet, but he's done like a composer after composer. You start ticking them off. Tchaikovsky, he's got a new one about Tchaikovsky. And a couple of weeks ago, we were able to watch a piece that he did that's sort of a little different about Sholem Aleichem. It was the life of Sholem Aleichem, particularly when he was writing his first novel called Stempenyu. And so it was a recreation of the story and also a bit about Sholem Aleichem and his life and his difficulties, as well as a lot of klezmer music and a klezmer concert with Hershey Felder on the piano. So Felder's been doing this for quite a few years now. He's done it all over the world. He will be doing it all over the world again as soon as things loosen up. He doesn't even live, I think, in America. He shuttles back and forth between France and his home in Italy. So, he has a pretty nice life. As a matter of fact, he is married to the former Prime Minister of Canada. So there's all sorts of questions to ask Hershey Felder as we travel down the Hershey Highway on this episode of Dave's Gone By. So this is why we have this here, the Hershey Kisses. Okay, I can mention why Pooey's here, but anyway, yes, it's going to be it's going to be a really fun conversation because, with a name like Hershey Felder, how can Rabbi Saul not want to talk to him?
He's very sweet.
And he's a sweet guy. That's right. So Hershey Felder coming up in just a little bit on Dave's Gone By. Also, we will have our Today, Yesterday trivia quiz that we do every week. This is a lot of fun, where I will ask 10 questions that have to do with things that happened on March 20th in history, world history. So it can be 10 years ago, it can be 500 years ago. And we have panelists who try and answer those questions for points. Those panelists will include our regular players, Leslie Hoban Blake and David Sheward. They're two theater critics and theater people, so we're always very, very happy to have them. And playing against them is
David was out last week with his mom, so now it's good to have the reigning king back.
Yeah, because David is sort of the guy to beat, although Leslie has taken the crown a time or two.
David is like
and one time, Friendly won a couple of weeks ago. Our friends, Friendly.
Friendly both have unique knowledge in different areas. I mean, Wendy's a librarian and Fred wrote, so they're very, literate. So.
As you said, it also isn't necessarily quite fair when we have a team of two people going up against one person, because there is something about a team.
Still win. Yeah. Leslie won last week.
Yes, she did. Okay. Yeah, she won handily, didn't she? Yeah. So yay for her. But anyway, but playing against Leslie and David on this week's Today Yesterday quiz will be our old friend of the Daverhood. This is the first time that she is playing the Today Yesterday trivia quiz, and first time we'll actually get to see her, because all these years we've been audio only as a radio show or podcast.
A lot,
yeah, but she's been on our Tony shows. Yeah. She's talked about a book that she wrote about her dad, who was a soldier during World War II. She also wrote a book. She's Jewish. She wrote a book about the Holocaust, of course, and also about teenagers and things. Her name's Iris Dorbian, and she will be with us playing the Today Yesterday game. So yeah, a lot of fun to do, a lot of cool, fun stuff on Dave's Gone By for this Saturday, March 20th. It is already so a little after 9:30 in the morning Eastern Time. I want to remind you that our homepage, our website, for not our Facebook website, but our regular site is davesgoneby.com. We keep all the archives there. So if you want to hear the very first episode we've ever done back in 2002.
Well, you over into 790, right? You got out of there.
Yeah, you're right. Look at it. This is our 790th show. So 789 ago was October 6th, I do believe, 2002 on terrestrial radio. Since then, if let's see, you'll see Iris Dorbian on the show later. And it's like, well, what were her other appearances like? Go in the archives, and you can hear every single time she's been on this program, because all those shows are there. And we even have a separate archive of all the interviews we've done. It's all free, and you can either stream or download them as MP3s if you're more of a podcasty kind of a person. But remember, davesgoneby.com. Also want to remind you that we keep our archives at archive.org, which is also a free website. In fact, it's a nonprofit organization that gathers entertainment and arts and literature for the past 5,000 years, and is trying to put it all in one site. And Dave's Gone By is a part of that. So you can find us there. You can find most of our stuff on YouTube if it hasn't been muted for copyright issues, as well as our audio at castbox.fm. That is the audio files only. Now, for the first 15 years, we were audio only. Past 3.5, obviously, we've been doing this. But if you want just the audio of all our stuff, castbox.fm, which is really good for people who want to be on the go and you want to listen at the gym, you want to listen on an airplane, etc. That's a cool place to do it. And what else? And last reminder that we are putting excerpts, pretty random excerpts of the program on Cablevision on the public access channel 20 if you're in Nassau County and you have Altice, Optimum, Cablevision, Cable, Purina, whatever the hell they call it. So, and it's Mondays at 1 a.m. and Tuesdays at 4 a.m. Mondays at 1 in the morning, Tuesdays at 4 in the morning on channel 20 on Altice Optimum cable platform thingy. So if you happen to be surfing the dials, if you happen to be up at that time in the morning, you'll see me. But really the best place to watch this show is right on davesgoneby.com. Or you can even scroll down and like the last 3 years of our Facebook shows, you'll find them on Facebook. They still remain there too, which is kind of great. Okay, what else? Before we get to Greeley Crimes and Old Times, do we have any other stuff to talk about? Any other,
This week?
Yeah. This week was kind of a blur.
Yeah.
I worked, but there was nothing, whatever. I have a work story. I won't mention names.
What?
We have a day like, because what's kind of okay about working in a school district and where my team works, we're a very small group. We want to stay that way. And we have this small building all to ourselves, which is fantastic. Because I don't want to work with a bunch of screaming, snotty,
Tiny toilets.
pandemical kids. We used to be a kindergarten building, which meant that when I got there, one of the for no particular reason, for a very particular reason, every room in this building has a bathroom. Every single room. The first day I got there, my boss was like, took more time than anything else. Not about telling me the ropes of the job, not about introducing people, but just, well, here's a bathroom, and here's a bathroom. There's another bathroom in this room. I'm like, what do you know about me?
Yeah,
what do you think about my bladder?
IBS,
Yeah, and it was just to say that, well, the building had been used as a kindergarten, so if you're having 3 different classes, you're going to keep the kids in the same whatever, and they're going to go into the toilet.
Potty.
And at least one, probably 2 of the bathrooms were built for kids. So if you had to do what you had to do, you went into the room and you felt like Billy Barty. Just like,
oh, it was a tiny toilet.
The toilet was literally down there. The toilet was sort of human sized.
Okay.
It was just like 2 feet lower. So your legs are splayed out like this and you're trying to use it. Because it's built for like a kid who's 3 foot tall. You know? And I kind of liked that. I thought it was kind of fun. They ended up replacing them. We actually put in a ticket to something called School Dude. That's our thing when we want things repaired.
What happened to where'd they go?
I guess they put them in storage.
Mm-hmm.
Or they give it to the home for midgets. What do you do with a baby toilet? Yeah. So that was kind of fun.
Isn't that a Sondheim song?
What do you do with a baby toilet? You have to go and boil it, then you can use it over again. I'm making soup.
Oh, please, we're watching Sweeney Todd.
Yes.
Oh.
So I'm working with these cool people, and one of the nice things about sort of being separate and ignored is that we're separate and ignored. We don't have parents and administrators and people really tromping through. We get to do our stuff, especially during a pandemic, away from everybody else.
Yeah.
But we're also kind of on our own. It's not like school. It's not like schools have enormous budgets. So when like the people that I work with directly, who are hired by another company, they're kind of contracted out to do what they do. When they wanted coffee in the morning, they had to go out and buy a Keurig and we'll chip in for it. It wasn't like the school provided even a coffee. When I worked at a library, we had a coffee Keurig thing. When I worked in a school district, it's like, yeah, you're kind of on your own with that. So we all chip in. And some of us bring in coffee. I bring in like sugar and milk if I need to, and I become sort of the candy guy.
Oh no, that's the joke, right? Like now you're like the dealer.
Yeah. I mean, first we got just as a nice thing. I was just put out a little candy. I brought a bag. I thought, for me to get me through the day, because I work an 8.5-hour day. Every once in a while, I'm gonna let me share. Because I always wait. I wait for after sales. I wait for post Valentine's Day. Things are 70% off at Walgreens. I'm like, I'll get 5 bags. So I bring it out. I said, what the hell? I'll share. And they know I'm doing it. They know I'm putting the candy out there. Fine. And so this week, which was an up and down week, as it's tended to be during the winter. Some days are bad. Some days are pretty quiet. And I'm working, I'm doing my thing, and my boss comes into the room, and she's like making almost like a beeline for me. And by the way, I get along really great with my boss. She's wonderful. I love her. She's terrific. Okay. Oh yeah. All right. And so I'm not just saying that. It's not like people who work for Governor Cuomo who are sworn to say he never touched me. No, I mean she's great and she's a sweetie, and so I'm working for this. So I'm not used to her kind of coming at me with any kind of attitude. She doesn't come at me. It doesn't work that way. But here, I'm seeing like this look on her face. And so it's like, can you come in my office, please? Kind of look. It's like, something's bad. Yeah. And she kind of comes to me, hesitates for a moment, and then just keeps coming. And I'm like, oh, okay. This is gonna whatever this is gonna ruin my day. It's gonna be bad news. And she looks at me, and she's like, Dave, yeah. It's like, you have candy? And I'm like, yeah, I got candy. So I open the drawer, and I pull out like my bag of Reese's and Hershey's.
What do you want? I got what you want. How much? You want a nickel bag?
I got your heroin bag. I got your meth.
What do you want?
And so I was like, do you want 3 or 4? No, just 2. And she says, thank you. And she just turns around and walks away. Because she knows I'm like the Grateful Dead song, I'm your candy man. I become the candy pusher, the sugar, the sugar enabler for our office. But that was like, in some ways, the highlight of my week. Just that moment that I thought, like, oh, God. Oh. What? But it does mean that I, from now on, have to be ready with candy. From now, I've got to have sacks of reserves. And not that the candy Pez shit and Peeps. I'm talking like good chocolate candy.
If you didn't have it, then your evaluation might have gotten lower.
Oh, definitely. I got pretty high marks on my first eval a couple of weeks ago. I got my 6-month chip where I've been working. So now, if I don't have those, not having 3 Musketeers. I wish they were 3 Musketeers. They're Snickers.
She did mention that when she announced on the webinar that you were getting tenure or whatever. Yeah. She did also mention that besides your tech skills, that you always bring candy.
She didn't.
Yes.
She said that on No. Because then everybody would be marching to the door.
They'd be like, ding dong, excuse me.
It'd be in the back door, like at 4:14 in the afternoon when I'm about to leave.
The parents that came to visit did not come to register their child. They came to get some Snickers.
That's right. Well, this is literally what happened this week. There was a little family, like this father, the wife, and their daughter. They come to the door. Nobody comes to our door. And say, is this where we register for the kindergarten? It's like, no, we have to go to our central office. We don't actually have classes here. I'll bet that was a ruse.
I believe too.
And they just wanted Mars bars.
Of course.
Yeah.
They wanted a snack, and they were like, oh, where am I going to pandemic? Where am I going to go?
Yeah.
I don't want to wait 3 hours in line at the King Supers to get a Snickers.
They just wanted a Clark bar. If I'd known. If I only known.
You didn't see them like with the kid had a Halloween pumpkin.
So that was all right. That was actually a highlight, if you will, of the week. What was the highlight? Were there any highlights of your week, hon?
Well, not really. I mean, it's spring break, so at least I had a break from.
That's right. And as Joyce said, we started watching Sweeney Todd.
Oh God,
the original kind
of. It's a little bit gruesome. I forgot how gruesome.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that you were upset about that. That you were, knowing the humor that I have, and we've also been watching Paradise PD on Netflix, which is the most deliberately gross out, outrageous humor that you could ever imagine. Yes. And I love it, of course. And that you would get upset about like A Little Priest from almost 40 years ago. In A Little Priest is the song that they sing at the end of Act 1, where they're talking about all the people they'll put in meat pies.
Oh, that they're going to kill. And
yeah. So, but really, you're like, Yeah. It's you've got to admit, it's a great musical, though. It's one of the greatest ever written. I'm glad to see it.
I love the Lansbury, but it's hard for me to see all that killing. I forgot it was so killing.
Well, the second act much more.
Yeah.
Second act becomes a factory. That. Yeah.
It's going to be more killing.
Well, yeah.
You don't even have like a knife. I don't know.
Well, you got to make that noise that you hear from the.
Yeah. Like what kind of woman would meet a man and say, "I want to improve my business. Let's start cooking people."
You'd be surprised. Like that astronaut woman who wore a diaper to go kill her. I would imagine she might do that.
That's horrific.
Eileen Wuornos, she would be up there.
I would imagine. It's like, why would you?
Uh, um, Hillary Clinton. I think that would be possible. In a different life, she might have married a Swede. She kind of. Just kidding. he was having a different kind of pie, if you know what I'm saying, and I think you don't. Anywho, what we do before we get to Rabbi Saul and we get to our guest in the Daverhood, Hershey Felder, since we'll be talking about Broadway and the theater and musicals and things like that, why don't we go inside Broadway? Let's do some of that, and then we'll get to the rest of the show, including our Colorado Limerick, including our Today Yesterday quiz, including Greeley crimes and old times. But before then, because I have been for many, many years a theater journalist, let me just open this up so this works. Where the heck is my search button? Then Mac gave me a whole new operating system. It booted up to whatever post.
Yeah, you're fancy.
Santa Fe or whatever the hell they call it now. And now I can't find where everything is and how to find anything.
You're fancy.
This is just wonderful. So hold on. Let me find my Inside Broadway theme. There it is. Okay, I found it. So I've been a theater critic for 30-something years. I have been a theater journalist. I used to work for Playbill.com. I've been a director and an actor and an award-winning playwright. And sort of actor, too. I won awards for both of those things. I've been getting my plays back into shape, just in case anybody wants to do them. If you go to davelefkowitz.org, you can read a bunch of them. And I've been putting them in proper new play script form. Ooh, in Courier instead of Ariel. Wow. But they're there. And as I go through them, sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know, I wrote this 25 years ago, how is it? And I'll notice little things that bother me, but overall I'll be like, hey, that was good. I want to see that on stage again. So if you do, please go to davelefkowitz.org. But anyway, I've been all over the theater business. I do love Broadway. I do love theater. I do care about it, which is why we do the segment Inside Broadway. Hey, and which is not wanting to play because I don't know. Oh, maybe it's because of that. Let's try this. Wait. Huh. I don't know. This is the old theme that we used to have. Let's try it. Inside Broadway, brought to you by Total Theater's Performing Arts Insider, your everything theater guide. Yes, Inside Broadway we go every Saturday here, just about, on Dave's Gone By, just to tell you what's happening in theater. Now, I mentioned earlier that, the rumblings have started. People are starting, 6 months ago, everybody was like, well, even when I get the shot, I don't know if I want to do it. I don't really trust it. They're saying there's variants and blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, you know what? Got the shot. People I know are getting their shots. I've been wearing a mask. I'm good. I'm ready. I want to go to theaters. I want to go to museums. People are they're going to go back to the movies. They're getting on airplanes again. Whether, if Dr. Fauci is saying that's too soon, I don't know. I really don't. But I think, if people are careful and we are getting what's the point of getting double vaccinated if we're not going to get back to some semblance of normalcy? But anyway, Broadway is still technically closed until March 30th, and it is still the feeling that Broadway won't get rolling again with performances until around, starting after Labor Day. And really October, we will see not all 30-something, 40-something Broadway theaters open and operational and full, but we will see a semblance of normalcy on Broadway back then. I really feel that. Off-Broadway theaters...
When?
Oh, sorry?
By when?
By October, early October, with things starting previews again in September. But off-Broadway, they're making plans starting April 2nd. They've been chomping at the bit. They've been begging for Governor Cuomo and just the people, the powers that be, to say, we're not Broadway. We don't have those economics. Some of these places, their funding is from grants anyway. They're not making all their money from ticket sales. We can open with 30% capacity. Just let us do it. We'll keep everybody separate. We'll move the chairs. We'll have masks. We'll wipe everything down. Just let us survive. Let us do stuff. So now the theaters are saying, okay, people can come in. We'll have 50% capacity or whatever it is. We'll do it. And so, for example, you've got the Crane Theater. The Crane is an off-Broadway theater. They've got a new ventilation system. They're going to seat people in like a pod style. So if you're with you're part of a couple or you're with a small group, you all sit together, and then there's significant distance between strangers that you don't know. And that's how they're going to group everybody. I love the word. They're going to put everybody in a quarantine. That's the word they're all using. Everyone except the actors will be masked, which is the thing that I find the least desirable about going back to Broadway. Do I want to sit for 2 hours, let's say, with a mask on my face? I don't even want to do that at work. And thank goodness in my jobs I don't have to. I haven't had to. But I always put on a mask when I get up from my desk, and I might be passing other people. And when I'm outside or at the grocery, sure. But to sit there and be entertained in my free hours, do I want to sit there with this mask on my face? I'm still having, I don't know. I might do it for a show I really, really want to see, but when I just want to go, oh, this is a show, it sounds interesting, let me watch it like this. And what happens when people sneeze? That's what I wonder. Like, when you sneeze, you gotta be like,
Yeah,
people are gonna sneeze, they cough. You know what they do in theaters.
I don't want to know.
Yeah. But anyway, and also the Crane is gonna both have live stuff and stream at the same time. They're gonna hybridize it. Just because. Just they want to get that double audience. And that may be a thing that we'll see going forward, is even with the biggest theaters, like this understanding and these deals that will be made with the unions to say, okay, maybe it might be a year or 2 or 3 before we really get the tourism back to places, before we get everybody coming back.
All the stagehands and everybody, they're unionized, and SAG is a union,
Yeah.
right? It's a guild.
But the problem is the union cares, especially the actors union, is saying, hey, you want to stream the show? Everybody gets a piece,
Yeah, but what do you, I mean, you're not going to make the same money from streaming as you would from in-person, right? Attendance.
No, but you still, something.
No.
There's a reason that virtually every Broadway show for the past 30 years has been taped.
Yeah.
They brought a camera or 2.
A lot of them on Broadway HD.
I'm talking about the stuff that doesn't even make it on Broadway HD.
Really?
It's been taped for posterity, and you can make an appointment if you're a theater person to watch it at Lincoln Center Public Library, the up on 65th Street, the collection they have there. In fact, I have the woman who, she passed away, but we had Betty Corwin on the program, the woman who started that program. But I think they're going to figure out a way to mix that and keep that mixed, even as things go back to normal in the years ahead. There's going to be an understanding that you can have live theater and you can stream it too, and make them both work and not take away one from the other. It will take some finessing, but I think that's what's going to happen. And you even showed me a cool thing that they're going to do in the next 3 months in nicer weather, where they're going to use shipping containers.
I think that's so smart.
For outdoor stages.
Yeah.
Just, where can you do it? You need a stage. So, okay, put it on a shipping container. Boom.
And
there
then
you
the
go.
audience is below, the orchestra pit is at audience level, and the actors are above. Yeah, like a stage.
Brilliant.
It's great.
Just when creative people have the opportunity to think of something.
Outside the box for sure.
Well, actually, they will be in a box. They'll be in a crate. Yes. Oh, all right. So I promised, in a sad way, that I would have some disgusting and awful news for our Inside Broadway segment. Well, this is like news. Broadway producer Ben Sprecher, whose last project was the ill-fated musical Rebecca.
Was it Spreck-a-lot?
He's sprechende English. Well, he got probation for child pornography this week. He had been arrested back in August of 2019. So his thing is he is probationary. He has to register as a sex offender and pay a whopping, for Broadway producer, $5,000. Prosecutors want 7 years in prison for this guy. Or 7 years in the pokey, or poker, if you will. Thank you. Well, the defense got him leniency, saying that, first of all, putting a person in prison during COVID, would have been this, that, and the other. And also, Sprecher is a father of 2, and he's been being treated for mental illness. Yeah, he has an observed fear of going to prison. But he didn't film child pornography, he just had a ton of it. And the judge also noted that Sprecher was probably depressed after his musical in 2001 called Rebecca. It not only fell apart. Yeah. What happened was they were raising all the money for it, they were short on the money, but they were getting a promise of this big investor who was going to save the day. And the investor, it was a complete fraud from a friend of his who said, "Oh, I know this guy."
You molest people. Like,
what?
Who's the guy we watched? Remember, he was an older man and he was trying to get funding for all the music, get all the shows up on Broadway.
Yeah, but he wasn't a molester guy. He was gay. He wasn't...
No, but what I'm saying is, like, that happens. It doesn't mean that because of that you go out and assault children. That's the problem.
Well, he didn't assault children. He had pornographic imagery and videos on his hard drive or wherever, or his floppy drive at his age.
Richard
Richie, yeah.
I can't say it. Goldklang. Sorry, Richard, I'm not well.
Yeah.
Said drinks in the lobby? Like, how you gonna...
I don't know how they're not. They may have them outside or something. The main thing is, we'll probably see a lot of shows that have intermission for a while. Just so you don't have it congregating in these old theaters where everybody's clumped together. People aren't so much worried about everybody sitting quietly facing forward in chairs. What they're worried about is entrance, exit, clogging up the aisles, clogging up the lobbies, going, you know what the bathrooms are like in these old New York theaters, is you got just people, like, here's the stairwell, got people waiting to go down to the bathroom on this side, people coming up from the bathroom on that side. There's no distance, there's nothing. How are they fixing that? I don't know. Probably maybe a divider or something like that. Anyway, but Ben Sprecher...
Probably no drinks and no intermission.
Yeah. Which is going to be interesting, Hamilton, even people who like Hamilton, they were like, okay, shoot him already.
Free depends.
Well, anyway, about this Ben Sprecher guy. So there was this mystery fella who was going to plug millions of dollars into Rebecca. Turned out the friend was lying to him. There was no guy. It was all a big old fraud. And so, and the guy who defrauded him ended up doing 3 years in prison. In better times, Ben Sprecher was a general manager and producer.
Efficiency, J&J 70%, Pfizer and Moderna 95%.
I know, but it doesn't take into account that Pfizer and Moderna were tested before all the variants.
Yeah.
And J&J was tested after all the variants. But, John Pielmeyer has been on this program twice recently to play the Today Yesterday game, and also to interview John Pielmeyer, the guy who wrote Agnes of God. Well, Pielmeyer's play Voices in the Dark was Ben Sprecher's first Broadway producing project back in 1999. Wow. He also produced Fortune.
Thank you.
Who did?
Richard said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Richard. We'll see you next week. Richard's going to be our guest on the show next week.
Tell him he should preview the quiz and see if he wants to play.
Yeah, watch the quiz later, and you'll see exactly what you're up against. Let me make sure we don't have our guest yet. Fortune's Fool with Frank Langella and Alan Bates. That was fun, actually. In 2000, he produced Mark Twain Tonight. We were talking about this 2 weeks ago when Hal Holbrook died. He produced that in 2005. He also produced the revival of The Odd Couple with Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick. So this guy was kind of major on and off Broadway. Wow. And he did that wonderful, this is when the bad stuff all started. He did a revival of Brighton Beach Memoirs, the Neil Simon play, in 2009 with Laurie Metcalf and a then unknown Santino Fontana. It was a wonderful revival. They were also going to bring in Broadway Bound, and the revival it got no audience. It kind of just nobody came. The reviews were meh. They couldn't bring in Broadway Bound. They closed the show, and he just has not had good luck since then. But we are very lucky. We'll table the rest of Inside Broadway until maybe later in the show. And I'll mention stuff because it's almost 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, and we have a guest. We do indeed. Rabbi Saul Solomon will be chatting with they're both the one, the only, the Jewish, Hershey Felder. He's a Broadway guy. He's a music guy. He has played his bios of big composers all over the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we do anything else, let me find, let me get a little sample of what Hershey Felder does. Well, I was telling you before. Well, yeah, I was telling you before that we watched Felder's bio of Sholem Aleichem a couple of weeks ago, and you can find all these still online. Let's hear a little bit of a tease from that as we bring in Rabbi Sol and Hershey Felder. Oh, shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I am very excited and very delighted to be talking to someone who's coming from very, very far away, all the way over in Europe, ladies and gentlemen. A very talented fella who has been on Broadway doing a show about George Gershwin. He has also done biographical musical pieces, both virtually during the pandemic and in person all over the world, of people like Beethoven and Puccini and Rachmaninoff and Bernstein, somebody Bernstein, Leonard, of course, and Chopin and Debussy and Sholem Aleichem, which is the most important one, and Irving Berlin as well. He's got many albums, including, oh boy, he's on a record called Love Songs of the Yiddish Theater. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the Daverhood, Hershey Felder. Shalom, Hershey, how you doing?
Nice to see you. How are you?
Nice to see you too. So is your name actually Herschel? Was it Herschel and you call yourself Hershey, or
Howard Hirsch, but my grandfather's name was actually Hershey also.
Was Hershey Hershiel?
No, Hershey, just Hershey.
So is it all Western? Is it all Ashkenazic? Is it Sephardic? Where are you at with all that?
I'm first generation North American. My whole family was born in Europe, Budapest, and Poland.
So is that why you have a certain pull? Because you're not living in America. Where are you in Florence, or where are you now?
Florence, in Italy. Mm-hmm.
Isn't it the most beautiful? I mean, for me, Jerusalem, of course, is but isn't it the second most beautiful place on earth?
Yeah, it is.
Well, where else? Where else? Well, you've been all over. What are your most favorite places all over the world that you've been or played in?
Here in Paris, lots of North America. So I think the idea is wherever you play, it's your favorite place when you're there. Otherwise, it's hard to get through. No?
But you live there. You have a place. This is your main.
This is home. Yeah, this is what I call home. Yeah.
What time is it? Is it like 6 hours later than there? What time is it?
No, well, now 5 because you've changed clocks. We only change, I think, next week. So it'll be 6 hours next week.
I'm old school. I just have a sundial. I don't bother with clocks or anything like that. Thank you for at least giving me a smile. I'm trying to make you laugh. It's not working, but we'll get there.
I laugh. I laugh eventually. Don't worry.
Good. You laugh inside where the pain is.
I'm a quiet laugher.
So let me ask you: when did you realize that these fingers were going to be your life? When you were just going to be like, huh?
When I was 3 years old, I was playing for my grandmother at an old age home, and I wasn't playing. I was banging on a piano for my grandmother at an old age home, and the lady who was running the flower shop next door came in and said, either give him piano lessons or kill him, one or the other.
You made me laugh. This is good, and I'll bet that's true.
That I'm very good at. Yes, that they pay me for that. Yeah.
So was there a point though when you had to make sort of a decision, like the Juilliard decision? Like, am I going to be Emmanuel Axe or Emmanuel Hatchet and go in that direction, or maybe more the Broadway jazzy, more an actory kind of thing?
It was always at the beginning, it had to be classical music, because if I didn't have that, I couldn't have the other as an option. Acting and comedy and all that kind of stuff, you can do that as you get older, but if you don't train these first, you don't have the option to do it later. So I went the classical music route first to make sure that was in order, and then after that, I concentrated. I did Yiddish theater, I did things as a kid, but I really focused on serious music for 10 years of my life before I ventured into theater stuff.
But was there a moment when you thought, I want to get on Deutsche Grammophon label, or so, like be a serious?
I always thought that I was serious,
but
but in terms of having, aspirations, the aspiration for me was just to make music. I never thought in terms of being this or that, or playing in Carnegie Hall. I've done all these things. So, but I think it's just really about doing good stuff. There are a lot of people who judge, success by the names they can drop. I judge success by the amount of notes I can play well.
Oh, all right. So how much do you have to, by doing these shows that you do? Do you even have to practice? Do you do scales, or is it just naturally you start playing?
Oh, no. Every single day for many hours every day. Mm-hmm.
Was that
absolutely
when you were a kid? Did you mind that? Did you like it? Or were you just like, I want to be playing baseball. I want to be playing softball. I
never wanted to be playing baseball, but I did want to be eating cheesecake. And, so at the very beginning, I hated the first couple of years. I hated to play the piano because I wasn't advanced enough to do the things I wanted to do. I was advancing, but I wasn't advanced enough. So as I got better, it became more enjoyable. But the first couple of years were real torture. That's for sure.
What was when you had piano teachers, what was like the one piece of music back when you were 6, 7, 8, 9 years old that you felt like, oh, I've come to a new level. I've been playing these things, and this one I can do really. I got something here.
The G-flat study, butterfly study of Chopin. It was so difficult to read and to decipher those notes as a 7 or 8 year old. So I was really young. I would spend an hour on every bar, but I did it an hour. I would spend a week on every bar and still not get very far. But I was so determined to get it. I was so mesmerized by the sound that I thought, if I get this, it'll be something. It took me a long time, but I eventually got it.
Now, you delved into, obviously, classical music, plunged into all these composers. But as a kid, you're in your early 50s, right? You're something...
Shame on you.
What? Oh, sorry, I couldn't.
I don't care.
Saying late 60s.
No, I'm fine. I'm 52. Sure, I don't mind.
You're younger than I am, so you're a child. You're a chicken to me, a spring little hen to me. But here's the thing, though. You grew up in the post-rock and roll era. Did you pay any attention outside of your studying and your rehearsing and scaling? Were you listening to the radio, to the Beatles, to the Stones, to the Ramones, or no?
Only when my father took me to school in the morning and the radio was on. I didn't know. I mean, I grew up in the disco era, so which the only thing I would know would be in Miami when we went on how do you call it, Hanukkah vacation, Christmas vacation, whatever, to Miami, and the disco was upstairs at the Saxony Hotel.
God. I gotta tell you, I'm sorry, but in this particular program, you know how we blot out the name of Haman on Purim, like we do the word disco. We have to
like that. So yeah, so that was my big exposure, was those 2 weeks during the winter at the Saxony Hotel on Collins Avenue in Miami, no less.
All right. Well, Miami, this is where we go. But here's a question: as you've gotten older, have you come to appreciate popular rock, other kinds of hip hop music, or you're just like, no?
Absolutely. No, I mean, good music is good music. Good music is good music, and good music doesn't have to be classical or snobby or distant or difficult to understand. Good music has to be something that entertains and is well crafted. And it can come in all forms, and it can come in hip hop, it can come in rap, it can come in all forms. As long as it does something with a brain and a little bit of heart, then it's good.
I'm still trying to do things with brain and a little bit of heart. I'm failing most of the time, but
I know what you mean. Yeah, rough going.
Tell us some, because you have done. I must be close to a dozen composers. at this point? You created.
No, I've done a lot. I've created a lot of shows, but in terms of composers, I think it's nine of them at this point.
Okay, well, all right. So, has it become like you're expected to do more now? It's like, okay, next year, who haven't I done? Oh, Harrison Birtwistle. Let's do a show about him, or Elgar, or do you have to be inspired to do it?
This, for the longest time, I kept on saying I was giving up because I had done enough. And then the audience identified with and said, what are you doing next season? What are you doing next season? And theaters would say, what are you doing next season? And so it became a thing. And, for the longest time, people would say, oh, you keep on promising and then you don't. I say, yeah, because people want it. So, but you got to work. It's what we do. We have to work. And so if you don't, it's better than a stick in an eye, and you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. And,
Boy, are you Jewish? You are so Jewish.
So?
I love this. And so
I love the peanut gallery laughing in the background along with you, but they're probably laughing at somebody else, like somebody really funny, right?
No. This is my dear darling wife, Miriam Libby, with
Hi, Miriam.
21 and a half beautiful, well, they're not all beautiful, but 21 and a half children. And so God bless.
You and Bach.
Oh, what about Bach?
He only had 21, so you have a half more.
I do. We're working on it. We're trying to shape the head as it grows. But let me ask you, speaking of Bach, are you going to do CPE or JS or any of the Bach?
If I would do anybody, it would be JS. And I've actually been thinking about it because, God, I love that stuff. The interesting thing is what's the dramatic, because the music is so intense. I have to find the angle. I'm looking because I'm planning him for next season. Tough angle. But I think if I concentrate on something specific, I can tell a specific story rather than do the whole story of his life. So I've got some work to do, but I'd like to do him next year, I think. And the great thing about him, all pictures indicate he was fat. I don't have to be on a diet.
You are not fat, my friend. You are certainly
not at the moment, but I'm on a diet. So, I mean, this is my point. If I do Bach, it was either Bach or Rossini. Rossini is buried in Santa Croce here, And I thought if I do Rossini, I can really eat all the pasta I want. It will be free for all. But in terms of Bach, he was, plump in the face. And I think I could eat lots of Wiener Schnitzel and whatever else he ate in Salzburg, all those, how do you call it? The Mozartaler who came later, those
nipples of Venus from
the Mozart chocolate things, the Mozartaler,
right.
It's like 4,000 calories and something this big. So I'm sure one could enjoy that. I think they serve those in Salzburg or wherever it is. Anyway, so
no, actually, or I was thinking of doing one about the guy who wrote Messiah, but it was too hard to handle.
You're trying.
Nothing. I apologize.
That's on the lines of it. If it isn't Baroque, don't fix it. But
yeah. Thank you. So in doing people, I'm gonna throw out a name of a composer that you've already done a thing about, and can you, if you don't mind sharing, like an interesting, unusual, funny anecdote about that composer when you were doing your research of like, oh, I'll bet you didn't know that Rachmaninoff.
Okay, so are you asking with Rachmaninoff?
Yeah, like give me a Rachmaninoff, a tidbit, if you will.
Rachmaninoff at the end of his life was in Beverly Hills. And he had made his, he'd run away from revolution, and he had run. And then he was back in Switzerland. And finally, when the winds of war were coming in 1939, he said, got to get out of here. Went to New York, from New York, Paris. And then he went to Los Angeles for a few contracts. And somebody took him to Disney Studios. And this is such a great story. And they showed him Mickey's first film, which was Mickey's Opry House, which features Mickey playing Rachmaninoff's Prelude, Opus 3, number 2, right? Da da dum ba da dum. Anyway, it features it, and Rachmaninoff said, "I have seen many a great pianist play this prelude brilliantly. I have seen many an amateur pianist massacre this prelude, but never have I been so moved by it as I have by this performance by a mouse."
Oh, that is. Was he
Yes,
joke? Was he
sorry.
being sweet, or did he actually feel like the connection of film and music, or was he goofing? Can you tell?
It's hard to tell because he was notorious for having what did Stravinsky? Yes, Stravinsky called him a 6.5 foot scowl,
Oh,
which is funny.
he
But
was so he was not.
but Beno Moseyevich, the great pianist, said, "He who did not know Rachmaninoff did not know how funny he was." Um, and so most people didn't know him because most people didn't think he was funny. But apparently he did laugh a lot, and apparently he had a very witty sense of humor. But Rachmaninoff, people always asked him, "Why don't you say anything? Why are you always so stone-faced?" He said, "Because I learned as a young man, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything." you know, and
I
which
should
is
have
why
learned
he
that.
never talked about other musicians. He didn't, he really was a great artist. But I always found that story to just be charming. Rachmaninoff is in, Disney Studios in Burbank watching Mickey's Opera House, playing a mouse playing his prelude, and he probably thought it was totally ridiculous and funny.
No, but here's the interesting. Do you tell that story in your Rachmaninoff show, or is that just
That story does appear. That it appears as an anecdote in reference to something else that's happening, but it appears as an anecdote. Yes.
how much when you first craft one of these bio musical performance
Mhm.
things? Do you have like 4 hours of stuff that you then have to whittle down, or do you come in close? Do you come in like an hour 45, and then you realize I got to take it down to an hour 35?
I've gotten better at knowing what works earlier on, because you never. If there was a recipe, then we'd all be rich and famous, and we'd all be able to do it. So there's no recipe, but the idea has to be good. The story has to be concise, and it has to really read properly. And I've gotten better over the years in putting that together before I actually go into production. So a lot of production is about really just making it elegant and putting it together and making it work, um, which is very hard in its own right. But I've gotten very good at self-editing before I get up there. And then when I'm up there, I can tell you right away what works and what doesn't, because the moment you open your mouth in front of an audience, and in this business of doing it on film, a lot of this stuff on film, it's really quite complicated because you don't have the luxury of actually running it in front of an audience to seeing what works and what doesn't. But what you do have is that you can sit back and watch what you've done, and in the test film and so on, and go, okay, that doesn't work. So you can be your own audience for this kind of thing, which actually is quite interesting, and not a luxury that I have in the theater, of course.
And the thing is, it seems like every month and a half you've got a new composer. So
Mm.
personally, with oh, you're doing the Sholem Aleichem thing, and then 5 weeks later, well, no, you're doing the Tchaikovsky thing. Wait, you're doing the Rachmaninoff. I mean, it's sort of
Yeah,
if you
non-stop.
when you tour though, do you keep like 3 or 4 in your head, and you do one in one week and one in
Sometimes,
another?
sometimes more. I've done 3 different ones on a day.
How do you how do you do that?
You train your whole life for it. I mean, this is something I've spent almost 30 years doing regularly. I'm one of those who, fortunately, has been really lucky to be able to work nonstop. And so, going from theater to theater, it's exhausting. An interesting thing, for the first time in my adult life in almost 30 years, since I returned home to Florence when things shut down last year in February, I've not been sick once.
Just toy.
I
No,
know, but
you should know
knock on
better than
wood.
to say that.
But yeah, but I'm touching wood. Don't worry. Don't be so concerned. But the notion that well, first of all, of course, you mask and we take care and we're careful. But I'm always exposed. I'm always tired. I'm always overexhausted. And every 2 months, I found myself on some form of penicillin or prednisone just to get through performances, because it's so taxing and so exhausting. And this is the first time in my adult life, since in my 20s, that I am not visiting a doctor every couple months to figure out how I'm going to get through the next set of performances. And I have never done drugs. So I don't have those kind of problems, but the exhaustion and the being with people and the exposure every night to different people, and it takes its toll. So the notion, touch wood, watch, that
Yeah,
that
no. I mean, when I started my synagogue, I was injecting schmaltz directly into my veins just to get through.
I know, but have you ever been to Sammy's Romanian in New York?
Of course, I've been to Sammy's Romanian
All right,
tenderloin.
so Sammy's Romanian. So the first time I go, I mean, I grew up in a real, how do you call it? Hungarian Polish survivor household. I mean, we're all from a family of survivors. So all I can tell you is schmaltz is not a stranger to me. And yet I go to Sammy's Romanian. And for the first time, I mean, this is 30 some odd years ago. And of course it's schmutzig, as you can imagine, because it is. And, with the white tablecloths and
the seltzer bottle right on the table.
And the waitresses with the schmutzig, And then, of course, with the little pancake pourer, that thing that we used to have, that the sauce, whatever thing. And I said, oh, this is like a U-bet. How do you call it? You take this and you pour this in your thing, and then you put the seltzer in it, and it makes your little cream thing. I had no idea that I was pouring schmaltz into my glass, because that's how they were doing it. It was the schmaltz for the chopped liver. And I mean, the real schmaltz, in the very evilest of ways. And so I put this, I said, oh, and I'm going, of course, with Goyish friends who I'm introducing to Sammy's Romanian, to whom I've never been before. And I poured the schmaltz in the thing, and I said, now what you do is you take the seltzer and you mix it up and you drink. And I almost died. That's my well, I mean, these stories, they go, but the truth is that I grew up in that kind of household, so it's very much familiar to me.
It's interesting that you use U-Bet and not Hershey syrup. I mean, that would make it. I get I understand it, but
we don't abuse the branding. We don't.
Now, you mentioned before putting it together, so it makes me think. It would make sense at some point, maybe not while he's alive, but not. Do you have any designs on other theater composers? Because he did Berlin, right, and he did Gershwin. Would there be a Sondheim?
And Bernstein.
I'm Bernstein. So do we see maybe a Sondheim? Frank Lesser would be a good candidate for something.
The interesting thing is that what I'm discovering is there's so many outlets and so many wonderful performers doing this kind of thing, whether it's reviews or investigating stories about these composers who are still very present and still very much so performed. Where I really feel my heart is closest to is putting the classical stuff in context. One, because my style is very much so that kind of style. And secondly, because the audience is actually interested in learning. The further we get away from the original. I mean, when I was born, Chopin was dead only, he died in 1949. So when I was born, Chopin was only dead, 120 years, 118 years. Now he's been dead 168 years. So, between the time I was born and now, there's 50 years of people. It just keeps on getting further away from the origins. And I think there's something that people love learning about, the origins of where this familiar stuff comes from, but that they don't know so much about. And yet, in terms of the American, how do you call it, songbook and so on, there's so many people who are so wonderful, who do it so beautifully, that I'm not sure they need me. I mean, but where I do believe I am needed is in continuing the education and the entertainment value of classical music, and also the notion that when it comes to classical music, once upon a time it was contemporary and it was actually cool, and so it's not this old stuffy stuff that nobody should understand, or so a lot of that has been fun, and it's where my heart is, really.
I mean, I was going to do a performance of John Cage, which is really easy. You just sit there at the piano for
all I have to say is, if you're enjoying God, John Cage, more power to you.
Well, tell us, you mentioned Chopin. Do you have an anecdote, a funny, whether it's in your show or not, of Chopin?
Do I have? Oh, I have lots of anecdotes of Chopin, trying to think of something that would be funny of Chopin. Chopin was actually quite an amusing character. He was, for all his, today we perform him as if we're going to church or something. People sit in the audience and it's so holy. In his day, it was all about the salon and about entertaining and about having fun. And one of the funniest things he was a mimic. And his big thing that people were not only his piano playing, but they loved to see him get up and do mimicry. And he had this very strange penchant for doing what do you call them, finger puppets. So he would light a candle, hold up a sheet, and tell musical stories doing finger puppets behind the sheet with the candle. And this would go of entertainment. That, and there also used to be farting contests at their soiree.
Oh.
You know,
Would Chopin would he win?
Georges Sand and Liszt apparently took the honors, but you know, Chopin was a little too delicate. But apparently, this is what they did. Well, you know, I was just reading today about the fartiste. You know about him, right?
Yes, Le Pegamin, of course.
Yes, yeah, and you know who would fart the Marseillaise. I just thought it's just too funny, you know.
It's beautiful. Would you ever do a show about them? No, I don't think you would.
I'm not gifted enough.
Because you have to do the candle thing. That's the big.
The candle thing I could do. The other, not so much. I'm not that gifted.
Well, you are too. If you go to Sammy's Romanian Tenderloin and you wait 2 hours, you can do the candle thing. Believe me.
I think that thing starts its work immediately. You know.
That's right. 45 minutes. It's already happening. Oh, we're talking with. Oh, we have a question from the gallery. Hold on for Hershey Felder. Well, here the question is, because we were able to watch the Sholem Aleichem piece that we enjoyed. I mean, how were you able, since you had musicians there and you had all these actors, to get this done during a pandemic? There weren't all, you know, obviously in the film they're not masked. I mean, how did you have the protocols in place, but also be able to have people in a scene together?
By having the protocols in place, and that's the most important thing. The other thing is important to remember is that this stuff is done in bubble situations where, first of all, we had to have a doctor, you know, so we had a doctor doing regular testing. And so that's the most important thing. You come on set, you get tested. Then there are people who were tested and were as part of the bubble and know. The other thing is this was taking place at a time where in Tuscany cases were very, very, very low. You know, I think they were talking about 80 cases in all of Tuscany. Now it's flared up, which is the scary thing about the United States, is that, you know, people get vaccinated, but only the older people getting vaccinated. So the younger people are running about. It's all the scary stuff that, you know, people think you can let up. It's really a several year process. It's not something that turns around, and as awful as it is, I think it's true. But anyway, getting back to your question, it's all about how you take care and the protocol and who sees whom, and you know that this is not a free-for-all, and you can't just go out and visit your friends when you're working on something like this. It just doesn't work that way. On set, anybody who's in technical is all masked the whole day. There's no unmasking the whole day, and anybody who's performing and so on and so forth is you know, been tested and safe and good to go.
So like the minute the camera goes off, the mask goes back on. And
generally not for the actors, because again, it's in groups, it's in bubbles. It's like with the people you live with, but you know, those protocols have to be put in place. The idea of, you know, throwing on masks and throwing off masks and then going to see whoever you want when you're done with your day of work is the problem. The problem is not whether you're masked all day long with people who are safe. The problem is what you do when you're outside of the work environment. And that's the thing that has to be managed in America. It's a very hard thing to manage because people have their liberties and so on.
My wife says the same things about my wearing a condom. She forces me to do it. Just everywhere in the supermarket, I've got to wear. I think she's overcautious. Let me wait. Another question from the gallery. Hold it. What?
Yeah.
Well, yes, the question in the Sholem Aleichem one, but I'm assuming, well, let's do the Sholem Aleichem one. All the band were playing their own instruments, right? They were literally...
And they were playing their own instruments and live. None of it was pre-recorded. It's what you're seeing is what you're hearing.
Wow.
Actually, so anything that was recorded, anything that you saw, any scene played outside, anything was actually played there on location, done exactly as you saw it.
How did you do the mics thing? How did you balance the sound of all these?
There are mics. Everything was done by transformers. So a violinist would have a mic in his violin, and a tiny little mic that's here with a string going down the violin into his pocket. That's how the whole thing was done. So that wherever you were on the set, you could be fully recorded and fully heard. So, because to me, the whole thing is not about pre-recording it and setting a film to pre-record, because that's nonsense. To me, the whole thing was very strictly about really giving real performances. Otherwise, it's sort of pointless exercise.
And I'm fascinated by that. So you don't have to tell me, but I'm curious to do that. So it was about a 75-minute piece, as I recall.
80
With
minutes,
music,
yeah.
with band, with actors, with how much does that cost to do? Because you see most theater companies, they're doing a Zoom thing. They get a couple of actors, they get some backdrops, they read a script, and then they try and raise money as a benefit for. This is more like a real serious television.
It's a production.
film.
Yeah, these are productions. Yes. Well, I run a production company, so the costs are significant. And sometimes it's a lot about asking favors, but never of the artists. In fact, one of the things that was very important to me with this was not about fundraising using the artists to donate. Every artist, including the kids, and you saw their kids on set also,
Right.
every single one of them was paid. Every single one. And to me, that was the only way I would do this, is that all the artists, all the contributors are paid. Otherwise, there's no point to do it as an excuse to make movies or so on and so forth. It's part of the process, part of why I put all these protocols in place, which is whereby, I could keep people working, which was the important thing. And to find out a way to keep people working, it's costly.
Are you a nonprofit or are you a profit organization?
No. Well, it doesn't operate as a profit business because, as you might have read, most of the fund, almost 80%, I give away. So we've given away over $2 million in funds to artists in need. If you look at the end of each movie, you'll see who's a beneficiary to each one of these productions. Usually it's between 30 and 40 different theaters, organizations, and so on. We don't list any of the private artists that receive because you don't do that. It's not nice. And people know that, various people know that if there's emergencies, they can come to us for things, for help, and so on and so forth. So that's how I've been running it. So it's not a profit business, but it's not under a not-for-profit banner. It's a profit business, the way I constructed my office. But right now, it's really about just trying to be as helpful as possible while giving people work. That's the concept.
So can you loan me $50? I could use it. I'm just kidding.
If it's necessary, yeah, we can.
See, this is Jews helping Jews. I like this. This.
Yeah.
We're talking, I should mention again, with Hershey Felder. And by the way, if people, so the latest thing coming up, is that the Tchaikovsky that people are going to be seeing on the Rachmaninoff?
No, Tchaikovsky, this season was, let's see how it started. The first one was Berlin, then Beethoven, then Gershwin. After that, we did Debussy, Tchaikovsky. After Tchaikovsky's before Fiddler, then we just did Puccini, which we just aired last week. And in May, we air Rachmaninoff.
Wow. Do you know who? I mean, I know you said you were thinking about Bach, but who's coming after?
I'm beginning to craft the season to see what it looks like, to make it interesting, unusual, different places. I think Schubert's going to be in there. I think we're going to have Schubert and Bach, pretty much for sure. And then I may be investigating some other very curious things.
Oh, I mean, do you ever want to go far? Because you did one that was based on a book involving sort of a Holocaust thing.
Mona Golombek, yeah.
Yeah, so are you thinking about something that isn't, here's a composer.
Why not?
Yeah, no, I'm asking, but
absolutely. I've got all kinds of things. They're all musical related. That not musical as in American musical, but musically related. So yes, absolutely. 100%.
Speaking of the Holocaust, and if you're Jewish, you can't not speak about the Holocaust. You mentioned you come from a family of survivors. So certainly your grandparents, because your parents would be too young, but your grandparents.
No, not at all. My father is 92, and they escaped in 39, but his sister had to be left behind because she was sick and she perished at Auschwitz. So I come from an immediate group of survivors, but only the immediate family survived of any. My grandfather lost 6 brothers and sisters. My grandmother lost 14 brothers and sisters. So everybody was wiped out.
How did your father get out in 39? What did he have to do?
My grandfather had come here in 32, had come to Montreal in 32. And he opened a business there, and for 7 years made enough money. Just after my father was born, my father was the baby, made enough money to bring the family over, petitioned to have the family come over in 39, but my father's sister won above him. So there were 4 of them. There were 5 of them. The sister above him she had to be left behind because she had some kind of cough or something or other, and they got out just in time before the war, and she was left behind. And the amazing thing is that the Polish consulate was sending my grandmother letters 10 years after the war that that they had found her and that they'd be sending her. She had died right at the beginning of the war. So yeah, interesting stories.
fun stuff. Now,
Fun stuff.
speaking of Montreal, you have a very significant Canadian connection there. Aren't you married to the former Prime Minister of Canada? How'd you hook up with that? How'd you meet her? Let alone marry her?
I played a concert in her honor, and apparently I played well.
Ask if he likes ice wine.
I'm getting the question, do you like ice wine? Since the Canadian,
you know, we had a bottle of it and I served it to guests and they seemed to like it, but I don't know from it very much. But I know we got three little bottles as a gift once. I'm not much of a wine drinker, so I'm the wrong person to ask, but apparently ice wine is very nice.
Actually, my wife's favorite wine is, I want to go shopping. That's a little old Jewish. Yeah, okay. Nothing.
All I'm going to tell you is this: you will pay for that dearly later.
Oh boy, am I gonna?
It's going to cost you.
So what is your wife doing? What does an ex-prime minister do? I always wonder about this. What do people do when they get out? Or maybe
I try to make the world a better place. In fact, at this very moment, the Prime Minister of Canada has asked her to chair a committee, which is, I think, several years in running now that she's done this, to put forth new proposals for justice. How do you call it? Supreme Court justices.
Oh.
So because she comes from a history of that, she was the Attorney General and Justice Minister of Canada, the first woman to have done so. And so the Prime Minister has tapped her for this. And it's, I think, the third year that she's doing this, and fourth time that she's doing this. And so that's what she's busy with now, among all her charitable things and speaking and so on and so forth. And it's very interesting because now the world has turned, as we are doing, to Zoom. And while she has to get up sometimes in the middle of the night to do these lectures and conversations, depending on where it is in the world, it certainly is better on the health. I mean, the idea, and I don't know what your regular business is, but the idea of not having to get on a plane every 5 minutes is really a nice thing. And between the two of us, there was so much perfect for your show. Schlepping. You can't imagine, the schlepping was unbelievable. And it's just exhausting after a while. And also, you can only imagine that it does. I mean, it gets to you. It makes you sick, all that schlepping, all that getting on a plane. It just physically, it wipes you out. So the notion that we've been able to be in one place for a year is strangely the silver lining. I don't think it's a gift because it's been wrought so much tragedy on the world. But for us, at least, there is a silver lining to be able to be home and to just be healthy for the first time in 30 years. So, you know, there's that.
But are you planning for late 21 into 22 of in-person performances? The virtual stuff is great, but do you see yourself? Are you already booking venue?
Well, I mean, when I left, I had 2 years of contract left. When it stopped, I had 2 years of contracts, all of whom maintained the contract. So it's not as if they said this is canceled, this is canceled. All these theaters, and I've been supporting all these theaters with these.
Uh-oh, you froze. We've lost you temporarily. You're
with these films ever since. Am I back? Hello, am I back?
Yeah, now you're back. You froze for about 5 seconds there. Welcome.
Your internet. It's now it's stable again. Are we back?
Yes, I'm hearing you. You're probably delayed hearing us, but now you're back. Welcome back.
Okay.
Shalom. Welcome back.
Okay, yeah, it's just instability of connection. Anyway, so the I had all 2 years of contracts booked, and none of those disappeared. They're all there. The question is not whether am I planning to go back. The question is what the reality is, and nobody knows what the reality is. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I think people are very hopeful, and I'm glad that people are hopeful because I think we need to look in the direction of starting again. don't know. There's so much that's still unknown in terms of these new strains. If what we're seeing here in Europe is going to take hold in America, and they're saying these new strains are going to take hold in the next 2 months, we don't know. I mean, we're going into lockdowns here again. I mean, it's very in Italy, all over Italy. France just announced their lockdowns. It's kind of crazy system of lockdown, but they just announced theirs, and it's because not everybody's vaccinated, and even people don't know how the vaccines are going to react, or that people are going to react to the vaccines with the new strains and so on. The idea of theater and people gathering, I'll tell you this, it's a little bit scary from an artist's point of view to be in a theater with people coming every night, because you have no protection, really. You don't. The people get to go and come every night, so they only have one exposure. The artists have nightly exposure, so that's a complicated thing to look at. And I'm not a chicken, I'll go and do things and so on and so forth. I'm not afraid of that per se. I'm careful, but not afraid. But by the same token, our audience is going to be that ready to come back. I think you'll have your diehard, your steadfast audience goers who will come, but so far this week, 2 separate critics, well-positioned critics, said to me, I'm not really in a rush to go back. It's hard work as it is, 6 nights a week going to the theater. It's a lot of work, and I'm getting what I need off the Zoom to go once in a while, short of something important. But do I want to really risk going back again and again? An exposure when we just don't know in these times? I've always thought that it's a much longer process than this, a year and a half, and then all of a sudden, the switch is on, the vaccine goes. But I don't know anything. I'm not a doctor. I don't know from anything. I'm guessing. The idea is, if I have to fulfill a contract, I will. But I'm not rushing to either until more is just known in terms of how people take care of themselves. Again, when we're on a set, we know where everybody goes and what they're doing. When you're getting together with a crowd and an audience, talking to them, singing, breathing in air, all this stuff, you just don't know. And so there's a lot that we're going to have to confront here. And there's the bigger question, besides the audience who is not a little bit leery about going back. I mean, do you really want to go to a theater and even 4 feet away sit next to somebody who has a coughing fit? They could be perfectly fine. It's a psychological thing. So a lot of that has to be worked on. And then the real issue is, when you have millions and millions of people out of work, it's not just the people who don't go to the theater who are out of work, it's everybody. So you have a lot of people who are not finding the extra funding, and I think for a while are going to hold on to their extra funding, and maybe they'll do a Zoom for $50 or $30 or $20, but will they spend $180 and $200 and $400 to go to the theater? I think there are people who can, but people who save to do it, I'm not sure that's going to be a priority. I don't want to speak for anybody. I just suggesting that I don't know. And so we have to see how all this plays out before we kind of know how it's all going to sort of take part. It's hard to know. I mean, I don't know.
I agree completely. I'm one of those people. I'm thinking, I have one shot. I'm waiting for the second. I get the second. I like to feel that, okay, I can start doing, I don't know yet.
You don't exactly. You don't know.
Will I still give?
Exactly. You just don't know. You'll feel safer, and you'll still be. But I think a year has trained us very, very careful and very safe. And how quickly are we going to let down that guard, which is a wise thing,
I certainly wouldn't. Actually, you're freezing again, I'm afraid. Yeah. Hold on. Oh, you're back.
It's cold. How's this? Better?
A little better. We just have
Can you see me?
Anyway, I see you. I hear you again. You're back. I think you're
right. Okay, great.
So but while we still have a minute or two with Hershey Felder, and let's remind people, hersheyfelder.net is the place that you can find all things Felder. Hershey, H-E-R, like the candy, Hershey, Felder, Felder.net. And this is where you can find out how to buy and see all that, not just the upcoming shows that you're, but they can still go back, right, and see the show.
Absolutely, the whole season. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look, can I ask? One of the people who've been on this program many years ago was Theodore Bickel, and it rather surprised me to read that you were close friends. I mean, we're having a huge age gap. But how did you become
Yeah.
friends with Theodore McKell?
I met Theo in Los Angeles. We were at a party together, and we very quickly became friends because we very much spiritual brothers, and we became very close for the years. I mean, he's gone now. He's gone now 4 or 5 years. But you know, he was a regular at our house. I was a regular with him. We had a lot of fun together.
So tell us to leave this wonderful conversation. Do you have a cute Theo McKell story?
You know, one of the things we became famous for all over Los Angeles in various parts was I would sit and accompany little bits and pieces of fiddler that he would do. And then all of a sudden he would turn to me and say, "Do you love me?" And I would answer, "Do I what?" And the two of us would play Tevye and Golda, and the audience would eat it up. And we did this everywhere. We played Tevye and Golda everywhere. So I was his most prominent Golda.
What a perfect, lovely, charming story for a perfectly charming, lovely man that we have been talking to. He is Hershey Felder. Please go to his website, find out all the different things that he's been doing, all the what do you even call virtual biographical musical
they're really just movies about characters that we know from history, whether it's Shalom Aleichem, Chopin, Beethoven, this kind of thing. But they're really kind of movies, so you know, they're fun.
Well, I bid you a Shalom Aleichem, Hershey Felder, wishing you certainly, obviously, continued good health to you and your wife, and much more music, many more shows. I'm curious of who you're going to do. And hey, you know, think about that Elgar. You never know.
For a guy like you, maybe. Well, same to you. Be safe, and your peanut gallery as well. That you should stay safe. And to the peanut gallery, don't punish him too much for the content, for the comment before. Punish him a little, but not too much.
Just a bissel with the. Oh, she's got the sound effect of the gun going off. Very nice. Thank you, Hershey Felder. Mazel to you. Health to you. Thank you for being with us. It's been a
pleasure to see you. Stay safe.
You too.
Bye.
Shalom. Hershey Felder in the Daverhood with me, Rabbi Sal Solomon. Now, Dave is coming back. He's going to be playing the Today, Yesterday, fun, happy game. Let me just play a little. This is now, we didn't really get to talk about this, but Hershey Felder did a show about Irving Berlin. So let's hear a little bit about that, and Dave will be back with the rest of the show.
I'll be loving you.
I'm Hershey Felder. Welcome to Westport Country Playhouse. I've been telling audiences that there was one thing on the stage that actually did belong to Irving Berlin. It is real, and it is the image of his mother. And that is the actual true image of Irving Berlin's mother that he kept on his desk for his entire life. And in fact, after she died, it was on his bedside. She was the glue that held the whole family together. And of course, as you can see, it's Christmas. Christmas was very important to Irving Berlin. We know White Christmas. But to know why White Christmas is so meaningful to Irving Berlin, that you'll have to come to the show and find out.
I will understand always.
A bit of Hershey Felder there on Dave's Gone By, celebrating the fact that Hershey Felder was our guest in the Daverhood with Rabbi Sal Solomon. We have more guests joining us on this Saturday morning, March 20th, the first day of spring, by the way, so that puts a little spring in all our steps. You know the guy on, I don't know if he's on your upper left, but he's on my upper left. He's David Sheward, former president of the Drama Desk, and also a theater writer, journalist, and a blogger. You can read him at the David Desk, and also culturalweekly.com and theaterlife.com. He was not with us last week because you were with your mama who got the vaccine. How is she doing?
Fine. She's fine.
Oh, that's it? How was her arm?
Oh, fine. She did not have any side effects. Doing great.
Yeah, now we love David. He's been a guest for many, many weeks here on Dave's Gone By. Your mom, who called our show boring, not so much.
No.
Yeah.
No, she didn't call it boring. She called it stupid.
Nice.
I was visiting her, and I was on my computer. I said, "Mom, I've got this thing to do. I do on Saturday mornings." And she said, "Okay, well," and so I did it in the living room of her apartment. And we went through the whole thing, and afterwards she said, "Well, David, that was the stupidest thing I ever heard."
Yeah, maybe I'll take your mom for her second shot. I'll be saying, how you doing, Mom? How you doing? You have a tough time with the vaccination there? Oh, now, that laughing lady underneath David Sheward is my longtime friend and also longtime friend of the Daverhood as well. She's been on several episodes, though we've never visually seen her. Now we finally get to. Her name is Iris Dorbian. She is the former editor of Stage Directions magazine. Oh, and then they renamed it something else. It was Lighting something. What was it?
No, it was called Stage Directions, the magazine.
And then you went on to do another theater mag before getting into a whole different kind of writing and business. No?
No. I was the editor-in-chief of Stage Directions for about 8 years, and then I became the group editor of the PR media group at Access Intelligence. They did a lot of B2B publications on magazines and PR, and then the recession happened. I got laid off, and then I did a lot of freelance work. I did write a little bit about theater, but then I reinvented myself as a business journalist, writing about small business, finance, and lately cannabis.
This is you do half of your reporting now is about the cannabis industry.
Yes.
So, how's it doing? Is it going to pot? I apologize. Yeah.
Mr.
No,
Peabody.
yeah.
Give me a Coke, Mr.
I'm sorry.
Peabody.
Mhm.
And Iris and I at one point worked together at Backstage.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my God, I did not know.
Many years ago. Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, Iris, are you going to be doing a story about the Biden administration? They just fired 5 people for doing pot. Did you read about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I read about this yesterday. It was very disturbing. The administration is really sending mixed messages about cannabis. And last week, there's a bill called the Safe Banking Act, which had originally passed the House like about 2 years ago, and then it languished in the Senate, where it was under Republican control. This is a bill that would protect banks from legal prosecution if they work with legal cannabis businesses, because that's the problem that a lot of people who work in the cannabis industry encounter, is that the mainstream banks won't work with them, forcing their businesses to be cash-only businesses. So that's a big problem. And so this bill was just reintroduced in the House last week, and now we have this thing with the White House. It's just
What's the explanation for that? I mean, I'm sure everybody in that White House, Kamala Harris included, has done spliffs in college.
Is what happened.
I mean, yes, I don't understand it. I don't understand it, but I'm sure they're going to have to answer to it in the next few weeks.
Chime in. Joyce wants to chime in. My wife is with it. Yeah.
So I have a colleague in Colorado who studies cannabis, and the tourism industry doesn't want to release the statistics of increase in tourism. They tried to downplay the role of
Why?
cannabis tourism. I don't know.
You would figure they would trumpet that. You would figure it would be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I don't know. And by the way, I was wrong. You still have, I was talking about this at the beginning of the show. You still have a black and blue mark where you got the injection a week and a half ago. This is unbelievable. My wife bruises.
Oh my God.
It's so
It's
funny.
like a peach from a month ago. You just touch it, and
I was just watching this Daffy Duck cartoon, and
yeah.
Daffy uttered the immortal line as the dog is putting him in his mouth so he can take him home to the hunter, Porky Pig. He says, "Careful, lassie, I bruise like a grape."
Oh, she does. This is unbelievable. I know you don't want to go on camera. Can we see her arm?
No.
It's unbelievable. I mean, even because I was talking about how what a wuss I was after getting the first vaccination. I didn't take the Band-Aid off for a week. And I showered. I was like, no, I want to look. I want to see. I'm thinking there's like earwigs crawling out of my arm at that point. But now there's nothing. It's like a dot, a nothing. But she's like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, holy crap.
I think because I have the one place I do have muscles are my arms with the virtual gym. So I think that I have stronger muscles to get in the muscle.
All my muscles are in my head. So I don't have any muscles anywhere else at all. By the way, we're waiting for our other, go figure, we're waiting for Leslie Hoban Blake to join us. How odd that she's late. Or we'll give her another couple of minutes. Okay. So how are you, Iris, in terms of have you gotten shot number 1? Are you able to yet? Yeah.
I got the first dose of the Moderna vaccine almost 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And I'm scheduled to get the second one April 5th, and then I'll be fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
My side effects were pretty minimal. It was a little fatigue after I got the shot, which I dispelled by taking a nice walk out in the cold air, and that helped wake me up. And
Good.
and my arm was a little sore, but
Wasn't it? Oh, my poor arm for like 3 days. I was like,
the next day it was fine. Next day it was fine, and that was it.
I mean, you've written about the Holocaust, and the Holocaust was bad. But my arm after the shot,
God, Mr.
You're comparing
Peabody,
it to the Holocaust.
very tasteful.
oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah, yes, definitely.
Oh, Mr.
So
Peabody.
tasteful.
No, did you get
I got Pfizer.
Good. Okay.
Fine.
Yeah.
So Moderna, they say, quote unquote, maybe Moderna has more side effects for the second shot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I know people who really didn't get bad side effects from Moderna, but then I know a few people who got ill from it. So,
Really? Wow. Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you, Dave.
Yeah.
You're the teacher. You've gotten number 2, right? You got the second shot already.
I've got Moderna, both shots. Yes.
How was your second Moderna?
Fine. It was fine.
good. All right.
So, do you feel? Are you going to go to a restaurant now? Are you going to do everything that? Well, there's no theater to see, but
Oh well.
you walk into a
Funny,
theater. Yeah.
funny you should mention that. A couple of things. I did receive my first invitation to a live performance. Well, 2
Yeah.
actually. There's a production, it's like a theatrical walking tour called Voyeur: The Windows of Toulouse-Lautrec.
Yeah.
Which
They've
is,
been doing that for weeks. It's been up there for a long time.
but
Yeah.
I got an invitation to review it, and it's 8 people, and you go. It's mostly outside, only 8 people at a time. And I just got an invitation to a production called Blindness, based on a science fiction novel. I forget the author's name. It was a film.
Right.
About a dystopian future where there are no actors, but it's all you're in different pods, and there's narration by Juliet Stevenson, and it was a big hit in London.
So,
And-
are you going to go?
Yes, I'm going to go.
Right? So you're gonna do it. You're gonna.
Yeah, I'm
and
going
you'll wear
to
a mask the whole. Do you think it's gonna be comfortable sitting there watching a show, with a mask for?
I when I was in school, I wore a mask all day
Ah.
Right.
in October, and on Monday we go back, and I'm going to wear a mask all day again. Monday we go back.
Well, why? If you've got both shots, are you a carrier? I mean, why?
Well,
would you have to?
it's just an overabundance of caution. In there are other variants out there, and maybe I might get, if I don't wear a mask
Right.
and don't keep my distance from people, or I might pick up. I might be a carrier and not get it myself and give it to other people.
Well, Iris, let me ask you. I mean, assuming you were still you were seeing a lot more theater when you were a theater person, but are you going to go to a movie? Are you going, once you get that second shot, say middle of April, are you just going to kind of resume whatever normal life there is to resume?
Well, not full throttle, but yeah. I mean, I do want to.
Can you get a little closer to the mic? Yeah.
I mean, not full throttle, but yeah, I'd love to go see some theater. I'll sit there with a mask, socially distanced from everyone in a pod. I will. I absolutely. It's just I have not enjoyed this past year. I have not enjoyed it at all. I know, and I mean, theater is one of my big loves. I mean, the arts, culture, museum, movies. I love it. It feeds into me just the way, and I'm going to try to eventually go to take that Spain trip that I wanted to take last year, which got canceled. Not once,
money back
twice due to the pandemic. So I'm going to try to later in the year.
I was in Spain. When was it? It was like 2 years before the pandemic, or a year before the pandemic, and it was lovely. I had a really nice time.
See that, the air thing. That's the most dangerous thing because all these variants, the strain in Spain stays mainly on the plane.
Oh,
I mean,
he's got it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, Europe is having a problem with the vaccine, with their vaccine distribution rollout. They're having a real problem. Germany, I think, is heading for a lockdown, and Paris is doing a lockdown.
Hershey Felder was just saying Italy
Florida.
and Paris are locking down again. He's there. He lives in Italy. So yeah, Portugal as well. So
So I think a lot of this will hinge on. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Spain, but I imagine I think they might be doing a little better, but it's really depends on Europe getting its act together. So
if Israel can do it, and of course Israel can do it. Israel,
yes,
yay!
And New Zealand.
What?
And
And
Taiwan.
New Zealand.
Oh, New Zealand. Yeah, New Zealand. They figured it
Yeah.
out real
they're
early. I don't
doing
know
really well. Yeah.
why.
Island.
Well, they eat a lot of kiwi. I don't know. Maybe it's got stuff in it that's antibacterial or I don't know. Anywho, it's 11 o'clock in the morning
let me
Eastern
see,
time.
Leslie texted you.
Oh, I got my phone. I haven't gotten anything from Leslie. We're going to start the game.
Yeah.
Cause-
Copy of it.
It's later or early.
Yeah. Well, Leslie Hoban Blake usually plays the Today Yesterday game with us if she can get her computer
she wants
and
to go
or
out
phone.
as the winner. She's
Yeah, and she won last week. She should be itching to get back on the show, but she's not with us. We do have David Sheward, we do have Iris Dorbian, and we do have questions. These are trivia. I gotta get my pen actually, just to take my. Got it. So here's how, Iris, you've never played this before. Have you? I don't suppose you've gone back and done research and watched earlier versions of this program to see how the game goes, have you?
No, I've just watched the interviews
Oh, all right.
and hear your opening monologues.
All right, thank you. Well, part of it, that's good. That's good. So I'll explain the rules. The rules are we have 9 questions plus a tiebreaker. They're all trivia questions, and the theme, the motif, if you will, with a nod to Hershey Felder, is that every single one of these events in history happened on March 20th. So it might have been March 20th, 1200, March 20th, 2021. Oh, won't be this year, but and you have to, if you have one.
You don't have to, but
But it helps if you have a spirit animal,
good luck,
a
charm.
spirit potato or moose or. Iris, do you have any like stuffed toy or toy that you?
Yeah. Let me just hold
Sure.
on.
Sure.
You have to prep people and let them know.
Yeah, and get a pen and paper too. You'll need that at the very, very end. How's Bullwinkle doing?
Oh wow.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine.
You're looking good. You're kind of a styling moose. Oh,
Yeah.
what? Let me see what.
Good.
Oh, a bear. Where'd you get that, Iris? Where'd the Gundy sort of bear come from?
I think somebody gave this. I think my mother was in the hospital like about 5 years ago, and somebody bought this for my mother to cheer her up, and she didn't really care, and so she gave it to me instead.
Try not to invite that person over to your. That's cute. That's very nice. So here's the deal. I'm going to ask some questions. Each question is worth 2 points if you get it right. If you get it wrong, there's no penalty. So you feel free to answer. However, the other person, in this case David Sheward or Iris, will get to steal that question and get the 2 points instead. All right. So Iris, since you are new to this game, I'm going to ask you to pick a number between 1 and 6.
I should tell you, or just not?
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. I can tell and out loud.
Richard Goldklang asked, "What does PRPV mean?"
I don't know. PR. I don't know. So Iris.
4.
4. Iris is picking the number 4. David Sheward, what number would you like?
I'll go with 3.
David is going with 3. He has to consult with his team on that. That's why he's holding up the phone to check.
No, I'm just plugging in my phone. That's all.
Here we go. What I am doing, Iris, you won't know, is that I've got a digital roll-a-die thing where it takes a one-sided die and it'll come up between the number 1 and 6. So let's see. It came up 6, which is closer to Iris's number 4. So Iris, you get to choose whether you go first or second.
I'll go second.
Oh.
Okay.
Strategy.
So David, you get to you get to choose between first and first. So there you go. I think you'll go first.
I'll go first.
Okay, you'll go first. This keeps it sort of fair and random because the questions go in order, so nobody knows before the game who gets to answer the first questions and the questions down the line. So,
And-
David Sheward, you get first pick. Here we go.
Okay,
The first
and
question.
what is Leslie's problem this week? What's the problem?
Nothing. I haven't even heard from her.
Oh, okay. All right.
MIA. She's MIA.
Yeah, she's in the wind.
She's ghosting us.
Well,
She's ghosting.
Joyce says she's ghosting us. Here we go.
Right
Like,
ahead.
David, question number 1. The year 1852.
Oh, we're starting later than usual.
Yeah, couldn't find a lot of things before like 1800 on this one.
Okay.
1852.
Right.
Published in Boston today is a blockbuster novel by a Connecticut-born author who went on to write such less popular books as The Minister's Wooing, The Pearl of Orr's Island, and Dread, A Tale of the Great Dismal Swamp. Name that novel.
1851.
1852.
1852.
Published today in Boston. Blockbuster novel.
All right. Well, it's not Little Women because that takes place during and after the Civil War, which is later. Now, it could be, for some reason, I think it's Uncle Tom's Cabin. That's just what leaps to my mind because that was about the time. It was before the war and about the evils of slavery. So I'm going to say Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Oh, I wish I was in a land of cotton. Yes, well done. It was, in fact, Harry Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin was published on this date, March 20th, 1852. So, Iris, you see you have a formidable competitor in David Sheward. Now, some of these questions are also multiple choice. So you have a one, including your first question, Iris, is a multiple choice question. The year we go all the way up to 1930.
Ooh,
right.
good.
19.
Harlan Sanders took over a Shell filling station in Corbin, Kentucky, and started offering fried chicken dishes to travelers. Now, Kentucky Fried Chicken franchises span the globe, including various dishes sold particularly in various countries. Which of these is not an actual item in KFC's global menu? You'll have to guess on these. Some of them, you get, some of them you guess. Here's the choices. A, from Japan, the chitza, a chicken pizza. B, from Philippines, the bacon top burger, a chicken burger with bacon on top of the bun.
Right.
C, from France, tiramisu and sweet pie dessert. Or D, from England, scoffy, coffee served in an edible coffee cup.
That sounds good.
Yeah, good.
What's number 4? England. It's coffee. What?
Scoffy, coffee served in an edible coffee cup. You can actually drink the beverage and eat the cup.
Okay.
Allegedly. One of these, though, is not real.
Coffee. Okay, say that again.
I'll read the choices again. So here's the deal. KFC, this was the day in 1930 that Colonel Sanders started selling chicken in his gas station, essentially.
Right.
Now, of course, KFC is a global concern with stores all over the world. Now, not all these stores have the American menu. Some of these have interesting dishes. One of these, though, is not real. Is it A, from Japan, the chitza, a chicken pizza? B, from the Philippines, the bacon top burger, which is a chicken burger with bacon on top of the bun? C, from France, tiramisu and sweet pie for dessert? Or D, from England, the scoffy, coffee served in an edible coffee cup? Which of these is not a thing?
Okay. All right. I'm going to just go by process of elimination. A chicken pizza in Japan. Yeah, that sounds like something that they would eat. So I'm going to cross that out. Was that bacon top burger in the Philippines? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's something I think they would eat. The tiramisu and the sweet pie is from France?
From France, yeah.
Okay. And the scoffy, which is the coffee and it's served in an edible.
Right.
Um,
Yum, yum, yum. Like I'm eating this.
Okay. You know, I'm going to go because that scoffy thing, that seems, no, but they're not really into coffee. They're into tea. I'm going to go with D.
You're going to go with the English. The scoffy is not real.
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid I have the grounds to say that you are not correct, Iris. That is an actual thing. The scoffy and the edible coffee cup is a real thing.
All right.
So now we will have the opportunity for David to steal, and if David gets it wrong, I'll get, hello, Leslie Blake. You're only, hey, not quite a half an hour late. Not too bad. How you doing, Leslie? How's it going? Unmute.
Of course you're muted.
Yeah, you're.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I take it I'm too late to play, so I'm here to watch you guys play, I guess.
Well, that's very nice, Leslie. But
She
actually,
could
you've
just
tuned
play.
in
She could play.
just at the point where we can still fit you into the game. It's weird.
Mhm.
I know I'm enabling you by doing this. I should say no, Leslie.
No. You blame it on this guy, okay? His battery went dead, and I tried to find a battery because he ribbits. Only I couldn't find a battery.
It's the
And I got
insertable.
lost in the
That-
morass of
my
trying to find
God.
the battery.
If one of my
Well,
students,
it was for you, David. It was to welcome you back, David.
if one of
Hello,
my
Iris. Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you? Nice to
I'm
meet you.
Leslie.
if
I'm
one
the
of
late Leslie Blake.
if one of my students gave an excuse like that, it would be.
I know.
Leslie, you have to admit it's a leap.
Uh,
Frog joke. And
Happy
anyway,
spring. I'm sure you've all said that, but happy spring.
Happy spring.
yes, happy spring.
Not a minute too soon.
So, David Sheward, you're in the middle of a question here. Do you need me to read the remaining? Yes.
So it's okay.
From
Which of these
Japan.
is not a real thing
Right.
in some KFC somewhere in the world?
Bingo. Japan's chitsa, the chicken pizza. Philippines' bacon top burger, which is a burger with bacon on top of the burger. Or C, France, tiramisu and sweet pie dessert.
That it's interesting. It could be any one of those things, and maybe you did something sneaky, and it's not in the Philippines, but in Guam or something like that. All right, so it's either the first. What was the first one again?
The Japanese chitsa, the chicken pizza.
Chicken pizza. God, it could be any one of those things. I'm gonna have to take a stab at it, and so it's either the chicken pizza in Japan, the bacon top burger in the Philippines, or the tiramisu sweet dessert in France. It could be it. Any one of those sound plausible, but I'll say the bacon top burger in the Philippines.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, just a guess.
Well, you have turned into kind of a ham since you've been doing this program, David Sheward. You got it. That was not. You got the 2 points. And here's the deal. I was tricky, but not that tricky. This really should be more Polish than Philippines. It is not a bacon-topped burger. They don't put bacon on top of the bun. It's a cheese-topped burger. They actually melt cheese on the bun. How do you eat this thing?
Well,
With a knife and fork, I would assume.
Well, maybe.
heart attack on a bun.
College coaching guy.
Yeah, David, you should really be like we just watched a thing on Netflix about the college coaching scandals and then the gang. And Joyce is saying you should really be a college coach kind
Just
of
for the test, for the testing.
for the testing, not for the fraud, but for the
No.
testing part.
Oh, that's funny.
Was this all about for like sports or?
Well, this is the Lori Loughlin thing where it's like the kid plays water polo but doesn't really play water polo, and they get into the school based on
Felicity
water polo.
Huffman and all that.
Yes, exactly. So, we have a 4-0 game so far, but Leslie hasn't gone yet. So, Leslie, you get a chance to get a couple of points on the board.
Hey,
Are you
David,
ready?
my number would be 2, as you know, so you don't have to go through that. My
Oh.
number would be 2. Nobody's
This
already.
is my number 2. Have you seen Pooey?
Oh.
No, Pooey, but that's not Mr. Hanky. That's a real. That's like a fucking cigar. I mean, Mr. Hanky was this little pinky of a poo, you know. This is like,
Yeah, this is.
Tell them what it's from.
It's from a game that we had back in Colorado, and this is an actual children's game. I
Oh my
swear to you,
God.
this is real.
Oh my
where
God.
You put you put him in a tank,
In a toilet
and you
bowl.
take turns, and then you each person hits the thing, and then at one point the poo shoots out of the toilet, and you have to grab it, and the person who grabs it gets the points.
I think all chances of this show being syndicated on the Game Show Network are down the toilet.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well, can you
This
imagine?
week it won't be
Hershey
today.
Felder
all
on.
right, David Sheward, I have a question for you for no points. What's the movie that had life-size poos coming after somebody? It was a kid's horror movie. I don't remember the name of the movie, but I remember the scene vividly. It was in purple, and these life-size poos are chasing this kid
Hold on
down
a
the.
second.
He's gonna look it up. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I
No,
don't
it's,
think I want to
it's
know.
okay. It's okay.
It
I had to blank my screen out for 1 second.
Sure, of course, absolutely. But well, I don't know. It wouldn't have been that.
I don't know. The name is not familiar.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound familiar.
I'll look it up and find it. By the way, I still need John to call me. You didn't set that up.
I sent him your I sent him your email.
Oh, you did. Okay,
Yes,
thank
I
you.
did. Yes, I did. So
It's for him. It's not anything for me. I have something for him.
how come you never have anything for me, Leslie? It's like, oh, can you hook me up with this friend? I'm like, hey, Dave, I've got a theater for you where you can do Shalom
Are
Dance.
you a member of the Dramatist Guild, Dave?
I used to be many years ago. Yes.
Oh, well, if you were now, you could appear in Times Square. I'm going to appear in Times Square.
Oh, I think Charlie is
doing
also.
it. Yeah.
Charlie's doing like a 5-minute.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Well, anybody who wanted to, and I happen to have some new stuff I'd love to get in front of an audience, so I'm going to just take 5 minutes and do it.
Ooh, is it a character?
I haven't appeared in public in anything for the longest damn time, so.
So
Yeah.
can you give us a teaser? What is it, Les? What are you
Well,
gonna
I have to make a choice. One is either a piece about my 7th great grandfather, James E. Hoban, who designed the
do? We only
White
had
House,
him in
but
7th
also,
grade, or yeah.
but was also a slave owner, which we didn't
Wait,
know.
what?
Wow.
He was also a slave owner and used his slaves to help build the White House. So that's the
mean-
dark side of all
Wow.
that came to light only recently.
Oh, 7
So I
great.
have a little
I
piece
see.
about that. What?
He was your great.
Yes.
Great.
Oh, I
And he was on the
You
he
said
was on the
7th grade.
Barry Lyndon side, you know, when all the aristocracy left, he was an
Yeah.
architect. My grandparents were the potato famine people in 1847. They came, they came with exactly. They came because they were starving to death. So that's how they came. There was no direct
There are
connection
no potatoes anymore.
other than the fact that, sometimes you have a rich relative somewhere, that's the rich relative. Well, we
Mm.
found out about the slaves only when Henry Gates started to
Oh, that
do
guy.
the
Yeah.
ancestry stuff. That came to light.
Wow.
Wow.
And
That's-
then the
when
other
were you
piece,
doing
and then
this?
the other piece is about Lucia Joyce, who was James Joyce's daughter
Oh, okay.
and spent the last 30 years of her life in a loony bin, thanks to Carl Jung, of all people.
Oh,
Really?
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and
That's
I do
interesting.
believe that it was one of those trumped up, no pun intended, one of those trumped up things against women that they still did in the 20th century, early days.
Yeah,
Oh,
like with Rosemary Kennedy.
Exactly. Well, Rosemary Kennedy had a mental deficiency.
Mhm.
She was not. This woman
Oh.
was a dancer, a very talented dancer, not unlike Zelda Fitzgerald, who, by the way, was a student at the same time that she was a student in the same class. I don't know whether they knew each other. And Zelda Fitzgerald also finished up in a loony bin,
Yeah.
And so these talented women were lost forever because of whether it was trumped up or not. Here's the thing: all of Lucia Joyce's papers were burned. Her medical records were burned. Any letters, any personal papers burned. There is no record, so you couldn't find out if you wanted to. So it's a blank slate as to what happened, but you can figure it out from a lot of things that were going on at the time. Anyway, those are the two things. I haven't decided which one yet.
And just tell us, Leslie, when, and it's Times Square, when.
I got the date. It's either the 23rd or the 25th. I'm sorry, I didn't get it straight.
Okay.
I'm on at 4:40 and David is on at 5:30. That's
great.
all I know.
Wait,
Great.
you mean
Oh,
Charlie. Charlie's on it.
I'm Charlie. I'm sorry, Charlie. Yeah, on the red steps.
Of the TKTS booth in Midtown over on 47th Street.
Make a video.
Yeah, are they going to be filming it? Are they going to be virtually streaming
I
it?
have no idea. I thought I'd film David. I thought I'd film Charlie.
That'd
And
be
Charlie
cool.
would
They'll
film
film
me.
you.
That would be. Yeah,
That'd be
that's
great.
what I would do.
All right, Leslie, we actually have a question. We're in the middle of a game here. I don't know if we remember all this, but
I'm sorry, you asked me. I
I
wasn't
did
gonna,
ask
you
you.
know,
I did. Here's your question, Leslie, in our today yesterday game. Which,
Iris,
by the way,
please forgive me. I'm the blabbermouth of the group. When
no,
I'm
I
not around,
asked the
you know,
question. It's fair. The year, now, again, everything that happened in these questions happened on March 20th. This time, it's March 20th, 1944.
I have a question for you, David, before
Yes.
you ask me.
Yes.
Was spring, and this is for all of you, because I don't know the answer, was spring always March 20th? Is that an arbitrary date that they've given it?
Depends on I think the stars and the equinox or something.
No, but I mean, in our calendars on a permanent basis now, it's March 20th, regardless of whether it's snowing or.
I don't know.
I just wondered if anybody knew how the date was picked. Okay, I'm
No.
sorry, please go ahead.
You know, I don't think they pick a certain number of days to the day. Because I
could have stumped you all, you see, stump the host. It's called Stump the Host. I think
You're not Edward
we should
Albee.
market that.
All right, here we
could
go.
write a play about that.
Here we go. So Leslie, 1944. There was a year.
Yes.
Think of it as an early version of the Black Friday chaos we've seen in most modern day malls. After waiting online since 8:30 in the morning, 2,500 people, mostly women, stormed into a Chicago store and caused a near riot because they wanted to buy something they hadn't been able to for months. What?
Oh, 1944. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
okay. So here's the it's a multiple choice. Here we go. Was it A, goldfish, B, Hershey bars, C, alarm clocks, D, rubber duckies?
Well, it could have been anything, right? I thought you were going to say stockings, because that would have been 1944. It would have been stockings.
I was
Okay,
thinking
but
about that.
using that as my guide, goldfish are alive. What are the other and rubber duckies? What's in between?
They stormed into this Chicago store. Was it to buy A, goldfish, B, Hershey bars, C, alarm clocks, or D, rubber duckies?
Okay. Because of rationing, it would have been either rubber duckies or chocolate. By the way, was it Marshall's in Chicago?
The story did not say. I would have named the store if they named it. Honestly, I would have said it.
I thought I could get half a point for saying it was Marshall.
Relevant.
I'm going to say that it would be. I'm going to say it was Hershey bars. That's the obvious answer, but I'm going to say Hershey bars.
Yeah.
Using my deductive, stupid reasoning.
No, and also, of course, this was we were talking to Hershey Felder before traveling. If you know,
did you talk to Hershey today? Did
yes,
you talk to Hershey today? Oh my God! Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I always watch it when you post it. I love Hershey. You've seen me. We've interviewed him several times.
Yeah. So he was on the show just before you guys came on. So
I'm glad he's okay. I was worried about him because Italy is having a resurgence. Okay, good.
Fine. He was great. He was really nice. So, however, your answer is incorrect.
Of course.
So it is not, in fact, Hershey's or Hershey bars. So now here we're going to roll the die. By the way, Leslie, I need you to pick a number between
two. It's two. It's always two, unless somebody else took two. It's two.
Oh well, you know.
I thought the soldiers had all the Hershey bars to give to the little kids in Italy and whatnot. You know,
Maybe they did.
That's what all the Hershey bars were.
But sorry, you said number two. You were talking to him. Here we go. All right, so.
Oh no.
Mr. Peabody.
Oh.
So we're going to roll the die.
I gotta find my Mr. Bill and say, "Oh no," sometime, Dave. So I've got one somewhere, a little Mr. Bill.
Well, Iris, you chose number 4. Remember months ago when we asked you to pick a number. So pick number 4, and we just rolled number 4. Oh, what was that, Dave? What?
I said back before the pandemic started, she chose number 4.
Number 4. So. So Iris, you get to answer because I just rolled a number 4. So you get to answer. I'll reread the question. March 20th, 1944, Black Friday style chaos in a Chicago store when 2,500 people, mostly women, stormed into the store and nearly rioted because they wanted to buy something they had not been able to for months. Was it A, goldfish, C, alarm clocks, or D, rubber duckies?
Okay. These were mostly women. It's not all women. They were mostly women.
It was mostly women.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, but not all women. Because my first my first inclination was towards the Hershey bars, but that's wrong. Okay. For me, it's going to be, I think it's probably could be something weird like goldfish that would be live. And because you're dealing with World War II, where things were being rationed. And obviously then the rubber ducky that's for children, alarm clocks. Alarm clocks is also kind of strange. You know, I'm going to go with some, because it's so weird. And this is live. I'm going to go with goldfish.
Is that your final answer?
I'm sure it's wrong, but I'm going to go with goldfish.
Well,
Yeah, it's wrong.
You're Finn-ish, because that is not the correct answer. It was not goldfish. David Sheward, you get a chance to steal from the two remaining possibilities.
So it's rubber duckies or alarm clocks.
Yes, those are the two choices.
I can't imagine.
That's the title of your next book, David.
Rubber duckies.
Or alarm clocks.
I can't imagine that anyone would go rushing. Alarm clocks are really something that you need, but why would they be rationed? Rubber ducky is not something that you need.
Speak for yourself.
Hold on.
Oh, how can you? Yes, please.
2 PMI, thank you. Much information. Oh, all right. What have I got to? I'll say alarm clocks because I think that's something that you need.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Rubber Ducky is saying, David Sheward, you are correct. It was, in fact, the alarm clock. Oh, my God, you have 6 points. Here's what happened. It's kind of a cute story. West Clocks, which have been making like Big Bens and alarm clocks and stuff, they stopped making home market items of any kind in 1942 to help the war effort. Everything they were doing in their factories was for the war. Months later, there was apparently an alarm clock shortage. So West Clocks was given permission to make a stopgap model, which they called the war alarm. And they advertised it out of molded wood fiber, which is cardboard, essentially. And they had a very limited, and like the government rationed the distribution of these things. They could make just so many and ship it in so many places because it was the war, you know?
The war was still on, so yeah, interesting.
So in March 1944, a Chicago store advertised it had 1,500 available.
Was it Sears?
It literally did not say the name of the store. Doors opened on March 20th. That's when, quote, 3 women fainted, several clocks were trampled, and 4 showcase windows were shattered.
Whoa.
People who changed their minds and wanted to leave were caught in the surge going forward. And sometimes like the clerks would pull people over their counters just to save them. All for alarm clocks. Actually, true story.
Well, I guess if you don't have them and you need them, this is something you need.
The thing about goldfish is, they're really great. You can fry them in a pan. You can bake them in the oven. I imagine that they were plentiful. So.
Or Pepperidge Farm they were, I guess, but not.
Sorry, Iris. It's just the way it goes.
This is what we
tell David that I won last week when he wasn't here.
Oh, you won! You won seriously, big time. Last week, but this week
I minded the badge. I minded him, David.
Well, because when you weren't here, David.
Because you weren't here.
Yeah.
He psychs me out. He constantly psychs me out. Just his presence psychs me out.
Oh.
He's a smart fella. He is. I mean,
Mr. Sheward.
Anyway, David literally got all 3 questions on that first round. He's got 6 points.
Wow.
But you guys have time to catch up. All right?
Oh, please.
I know, Iris. I know.
I'm not going to get
I'm
one.
Go out and buy a goldfish. Excuse me. I'll be back in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Fan mail for
how many rubber duckies I have in my bathroom?
I don't know how many rubber duckies you have in your bathroom.
I got about 6. I got a little set of them, and then I got one for a soap dish. I got rubber duckies up the wazoo.
What'll you do without them? Can't
Oh dear.
How come you don't do Mr. Peabody anymore?
Oh, well, I thought I did several times during this episode.
Oh, I didn't hear them. You go, you go like, oh, instead of, oh, Mr. Peabody.
Oh, okay. Oh, Mr. Peabody.
Thank you for that, David.
For some reason,
one sec.
Goldklein just kept typing in Woody Allen 13 minutes ago. What does it have to
Yeah, I
do?
have no idea what that had to do with anything.
What?
Maybe we're making a molestation joke or
Oh,
something.
that's a whole other issue, which we
What
Oh,
happened
yeah,
with Woody Allen 13 minutes ago? What?
somebody just typed it in.
Yeah, somebody in the chat thing. Anyway,
entire,
David Sheward.
Woody Allen, David.
that can be an entire show, but go
I've
ahead.
not been watching the HBO. We don't get HBO, so I've been watching the thing. But anyway, David, amazingly enough, not only do you have 6 points, but this next question goes to you.
It's his,
So
right.
hold on,
Yes, I know.
here we go. And you know movies. This
Okay.
could be a runaway. 1952 was the year.
Okay.
Winning the Best Picture Oscar today is this MGM movie that had production halted for a month because its director was contracted to direct another film for the studio, Father's Little Dividend. Name the movie, which also won Oscars for Best Screenplay, Scoring, Art Direction, Costumes, and Color Cinematography.
I believe it's An American in Paris, Vincent Minnelli.
Wow.
Wow.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
You shouldn't take so long to answer.
He wrote the book, Iris. He wrote the book on this, seriously.
And the answer, oui, it is indeed. I didn't even ask for the director. You would have gotten, if I...
Does he get points for knowing the director?
Oh, I thought you
I'll
asked
play
for
Dr. Seuss.
I thought you asked for the director.
No, I just asked for the movie, and you're right.
Okay.
It was Vincent Minnelli. So, what made you know that? How did you?
I just know that the best picture of
1952
1952 was An American in Paris.
How would you know?
I mean, yes. I mean, it's like at the tip of your tongue. It's on your brain. You know that year.
Because
Yeah.
Streetcar Named Desire and A Place in the Sun were the same year, and they were much better pictures. And I just remember that, wow, American in Paris, which is a nice movie, but that won Best Picture over Streetcar Named Desire and A Place in the Sun.
Yeah, people
So
wonder.
in retrospect, do you still feel the same way?
Yes, George Stevens, who directed A Place in the Sun.
I know, but do you think they've held up the same way? Because I think American in Paris has just improved with age.
Oh, it's a brilliant.
Oh, it's charming. It's
Yes,
so
it is.
charming.
Absolutely, it's a brilliant film. But A Streetcar Named Desire and A Place in the Sun are different. And if it were like,
But they also, to me, don't hold up as well. Neither one of them.
I don't agree with that at
No,
all.
I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, Brando didn't know how to act for film. He did a fantastic thing and we all went crazy, but he hadn't learned how to act for film yet. So he was doing this bigger than life thing. He pulled it back years later. He became.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay, we can
They
have this
polarized
discussion
it,
off
too.
camera sometime. Okay.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting. I think also that in making the film, they had to cut out certain things they could do on stage back then that the Hayes office or whatever, the code people would not have accepted.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember if it was exactly 1952, right? But then I thought for a minute, I think Minnelli directed Father's Little Dividend,
Right, because it was a sequel,
which was a sequel to
Right.
Father's.
Father of the Bride.
Father of the
sequel
Bride.
to Father
which
of
he
the Bride.
directed. So there you go. That was the big clue. Anyway,
And
we
that it won art direction and costumes and score and all that.
so Dave Lefkowitz, you just
Lefkowitz.
Projection there a little bit.
little bit.
Oh my God. Well,
Oh.
slap me silly and call me Leslie Caron in that case.
Oh, David Sheward.
Your ego's not your
Wow.
I'm turning red, literally. David Sheward. I was just going to make a joke about, I don't know how you're not getting fat because you're just 8. You have 8 points so far. You've gotten literally every question.
Whoa.
Unbelievable.
Okay.
But the next question does go.
That's nothing new. This is not new.
Next question is for David Lefkowitz here. We have actually Iris. Iris, you are next.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh God. All right.
Question goes directly to you. You are playing this game. We call it Today Yesterday. March 20th, 1965.
Right.
Big night for Luxembourg songstress France Gall, who won the 10th annual Eurovision Song Contest with a song, or with a tune, called Poupée de cire, Poupée de son.
Oh.
Translation, Ragdoll. A year later, she would have success with another song by the same composer. Name that songwriter.
This is 1965.
65.
And what was the name of that song again?
I'll read the question again. Big night for Luxembourg songstress France Gall. She won the 10th Eurovision Song Contest with Poupée de Cire, Poupée de Son, which translates to Ragdoll. A year later, she would have success with another song by the same composer. Name that songwriter.
I'm going to say, this is just a guess. Serge Gainsbourg.
Whom I love, Iris. Bless you for knowing Serge.
Is that your final answer, though?
Yeah.
Well, Iris, buy yourself a blue Serge suit. That is the correct answer. You're on the point.
Oh my God! I got one. Wow.
And actually, what kind of interesting about this is that her next song in 1966 from Gainsbourg was called Sucettes, which is translated to lollipops. And she did this video. You have to see it. I was literally like, oh my God, because it was the most hilarious, ridiculous, phallic imagery that they were getting away with in 1966. And she felt like horror. You want to talk about Cuomo's women. She felt used and she felt violated because she just thought she was singing this nice little song. She was like 18 years old about lollipops. And then she saw the big end. She saw how the song was taken. It was a Gainsbourg song. And it was basically, you would see in the video these women like gobbling lollipops and all the way down. It was like, really? She just felt so horrible.
Do you ever see the incest one that he did with his daughter, Jane?
Oh, Lemonade? Oh, yeah.
Not Jane. Her name is not Jane. What is
Jane
her name?
Birkin, no?
Charlotte.
Oh,
Charlotte, thank you.
Right.
Jane was Jane Birkin, right? Charlotte Gunsberg. When she was about 16, they did this thing together, daddy and daughter, and it was absolutely incest. There were moans and pardon me?
No, I'm sorry.
No, that's what he was famous. I mean, I adore again, the Monster Sacre. I adore the work. And I adore, but he was a dirty old man. There's no question.
Well, who isn't? There we go. Anyway, well done, Iris, by the way, for 2 points, pulling Serge Gainsbourg right out of there. Well done. So, and as Joyce was going to say, a lot of times we get the guests, they've never played the game before, they come on the show, they get nothing, they get a goose egg. You've gotten on the board. That is a win in our book. So well done, Iris.
Oh, wow.
You can still win, by the way. We still have more questions to go. In fact, this last question in the second round goes to Leslie Hoban Blake. Are you ready, Leslie?
Yeah. Why not? I'm here.
Yeah, why not?
Finally, I'm here. Yeah.
The year was 1973.
Okay.
So now on New Year's Eve of 1972, this ball player was flying to Nicaragua with supplies to help victims of a huge earthquake there. The plane crashed, but 3 months later, this Puerto Rico-born 13-time All-Star Pittsburgh Pirate was posthumously elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame today. Name him.
Roberto Clemente.
Is that-
Roberto Clemente. I mean, we were all alive to remember that day. It was a horrible day.
So
It was
is
like
that-
when Kobe Bryant, it was like Kobe Bryant, only he didn't have his daughter with him. It was a horrible thing.
So that's what made you remember.
Roberto
this.
Clemente. Everybody's shaking their heads. It is Roberto Clemente.
Got it.
Thank you, David.
That's a home run. It was number 21, Roberto Clemente, who was. So Leslie, you are on the board as well. It is now an 8-2 game. Well done, everyone. Everybody's got points on the board as we move into the final round of our yesterday quiz. So we begin with David Sheward, looking to build on and solidify his lead. The year 1982. This is kind of a tough one, but it's a multiple choice.
Okay.
Hitting number 1 on the Billboard charts for the first of 7 consecutive weeks is I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. What people may not know is that their song was written by Alan Merrill and Jake Hooker and first recorded in 1975 by their band, which actually had bigger hits in the UK with songs like Touch Too Much and My Last Night With You. Name that band. Some multiple choice. Was it A, Jigsaw, B, Edison Lighthouse, C, Arrows, D, the Mindbenders?
Huh. Interesting. I've never heard. Not for the multiple choice. I would have no idea. And I think the Mindbenders kind of sticks out for some reason. I think that was the name of a movie or something, and I've heard that. I don't think you just made that up. I think that's a movie or something. So I'm going to say the Mindbenders.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Well, David, usually you're the brainiac, but Mindbenders is not the correct answer. So we have a steal opportunity here for one of our other contestants. We're going to roll the die, and we come to a number 6, which is closest to Iris. So Iris, you have an opportunity to steal. Iris, there you are. I think you froze for a moment. Okay, so you have an opportunity to steal this question. So before Joan Jett and the Blackhearts had their huge monster hit in 1982 with I Love Rock and Roll, it was actually written by a couple of guys who were in a band, and in 1975 they released the song. This band also had hits really in the United Kingdom with Touch Too Much and My Last Night With You. Can you tell us which of these was that band? Was it A, Jigsaw, B, Edison Lighthouse, or C, Arrows?
Okay, and they had hits in the UK.
Right.
Obviously not in the United States, because I never heard of these bands. This was 1970. What was it?
70. In other words, I Love Rock and Roll was released by Joan Jett or hit Billboard today in 82, but in 75 was when this band recording had a minor with it.
I'm just going to take a wild guess. I'm going to go with Jigsaw.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Well, Iris, I'm afraid Jigsaw does not make the cut. That is not the correct answer. So, Leslie Hoban Blake, you get the steal opportunity for 2 points. So, Alan Merrill and Jake Hooker, who wrote the song I Love Rock and Roll, and they first recorded it in 1975 with their band. Was it B, Edison Lighthouse, or C, Arrows?
With you, Iris. I never heard of any of these groups.
Yeah.
Edison Lighthouse.
Is that your final answer?
It's my final guess, yes.
Well, that was a very bright guess, Leslie, but it was not the correct answer. The answer was, in fact,
Arrows.
Arrows.
Yep, that was the name of the band. And what's actually kind of sad is that Alan Merrill, he was the last living Arrow. He died of COVID a year ago.
I hate those stories. I absolutely hate those stories that are coming out now about all these people dying.
Yeah. But all three, by the way, just so you know, I didn't make up any of those bands. Those were actual British bands of the 70s.
One assumed,
yeah, I knew I had heard the Mindbenders somewhere.
They were a band, but they didn't do I Love Rock and Roll. That was the Arrows. So, all right, nobody gets points for that one. We have 2 more questions in our third round. Iris, you get the next question directly. Are you ready?
Oh, goody.
Here we go. You will all like this one. Whether you get it right, I don't know. But here's the question. March 20th, 1988. Opening tonight at Broadway's Eugene O'Neill Theater is David Henry Hwang's M. Butterfly, starring John Lithgow as Gallimard, the duped diplomat. During the show's 2-year run, all of these other actors played that role except one. Multiple choice. Was it A, Robert Lupone, B, Tony Randall, C, John Rubinstein, or D, David Dukes?
These are the people who played the John Lithgow role.
Right, except one. One of these did not. So okay. I'll read them again.
His name wasn't his name David Duke and not David Dukes? He's not the same name as the white supremacist.
Yeah,
I know the actor you mean. I think Dukes. It's not the same.
You said Dukes, right? Duke,
Dukes.
yeah.
Yeah, it was the actor. Yeah.
David
yeah.
Duke was the KKK person.
Okay, thank you.
See,
No, I know the actor. I know the actor he means. I have the picture in my mind, but I just wasn't sure of the name.
But
Okay.
this is Iris's question. Iris gets to answer this one.
Okay.
I'll read the names again. Who among these did not end up playing Gallimard in the original Broadway production of M. Butterfly? Was it, or was it not? A. Robert Lupone, B. Tony Randall, C. John Rubinstein, or D. David Dukes?
Thank you.
David, the actor.
David Dukes, yeah.
not
David
the,
come on stage in a sheet.
not
Yeah.
the Klansman.
Okay. I know David Duke did play that role, so I'm going to go. And I think John Rubinstein also played that role. Let me see. Tony Randall. I think Tony Randall did play that role. I'm going to go that Robert Lupone did not play that role.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Get this girl an all-beef patty. Lupone is the correct. Incorrect. He did not. He was not. Well done. I actually saw Tony Randall in the part. It wasn't bad. So well done. Well done, Iris. You have 4 points on the board.
Oh my God.
Good for a guest. Really well done. All right, Leslie, the third question of our final round goes to you. I do believe David's already won the game, but we'll give you the question anyway. Here we go. The year was 1991.
Whoa.
Walt Disney is $2 million poorer today because they lost a lawsuit filed by a singer who claimed she was woefully underpaid for video sales of a movie she was in 35 years before. For 1 point, name the movie, and for the second, the singer, who was initially paid $3,500 for her voice work and $1,000 for the song she wrote. Songs she wrote.
How many years before did she? 35 years, she said?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to go back. I got to do
David, you
big
can't
math for me.
blurt it
This
out.
is heavy math. Let me do the math first. Can't do it in my head. I literally can't do it in my head. I actually have to get a pencil and paper. It's Saturday morning. My math brain officially turns off at that point.
I hear you.
35, 6, carry the 1.
Yeah, but where you're carrying it.
So that would be from 1956. That's what I'm trying to go to. Okay.
Sure.
So something that she did in 1956 is what we're looking for. Now, what did Disney have out in 56? A song that she sang as well as wrote. You want the song and you want the singer.
It's just complicated. I'll read it again. 1991 is the year when Walt Disney Company is $2 million poorer today because they lost a lawsuit filed by the singer who claimed she was woefully underpaid for video sales of a movie she was in 35 years before. For 1 point, name the movie. For the second, the singer who was initially paid $3,500 for her voice work and $1,000 for songs she co-wrote.
So again, you want the name of the person and the name of the song?
Yeah, no, the name of the movie and the name of the person.
Okay, the movie. Okay.
There should be a timer on this, shouldn't there?
Oh, shut up.
That's why I wrote this.
Oh, shut up or I'll come and put a timer on you. I'm sorry. I'm just being rude. Okay, hang on. I'm going to say the movie was Escape to Witch Mountain, which was probably later than 56. And the singer was, I don't know. I have no idea. And that's not the right movie either. I don't know who sang on Walt Disney movies. I just don't know. Patty Page. I have no idea.
And pick a movie.
I made that up. I'll stick with Witch Mountain. She wasn't in it, but she would have sung the song and she would have.
Which mountain was she in?
I was escaping to the mountain with my darling.
There you go. Well, I'm afraid your page was ripped. Leslie, it was not the correct answer. So we're gonna roll a die, and we come up with a number 5. And the number 5 is closest to Iris again. So
Oh, God.
can you
Come on, Iris, keep up the Femi side of this.
Iris,
All
you
right.
have 4 points. You can get 6. You can be,
To tie.
yeah. Well, not quite, but yeah.
Okay, can you read the question again?
Sure. 1991 was the day today, Walt Disney paid out $2 million because they lost a lawsuit filed by a singer who claimed she was woefully underpaid for video sales of a movie that she was in 35 years before. For 1 point, name the movie. For the second, the singer, who was initially paid $3,500 for her voice work, and $1,000 for the songs that she co-wrote.
She co-wrote. Oh, God. And the 50s is just not my era. It's a Disney movie. Because I'm just thinking of all these old movies, but I mean, and it didn't come out in 56. All these old Disney films. Well, it certainly ain't Fantasia, and I don't think it's Lady and the Tramp. Oh, God. Why not? It's probably Lady and the Tramp, even though I think it's really not that era.
Well, that's 1 point. Do you have a singer, though, to go with it?
Oh, a singer. Marnie Nixon.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'm afraid your Nixon is impeached. However, Iris, you get 1 point because you are partially correct with that answer. David Sheward, you get to steal the second point if you can. The singer.
I was right with the Lady and the Tramp.
You were right with the Lady and the
I had
Tramp.
to keep a poker face when you said that.
I
Yeah,
know, I did that because I.
Yeah.
The singer was Peggy Lee.
The singer was indeed Peggy Lee. Well done, David.
You know what? I remember now that we're talking about it. I actually remember that lawsuit. It was an insane thing, and she won.
Yeah.
She won because there was something in the contract. Her contract gave her the right to approve transcriptions of the film for sale to the public. Well, nobody knew in 1956 video would go, and so she claimed, hey, you're making millions of dollars on these video sales. I was paid a one-time fee of $3,500, and it was a lot of money back then, but still, and she won like a couple. Yeah, Peggy
She was
Lee.
a very astute businesswoman, was Peggy Lee. She really was.
She did not. It's interesting. She did not do the voice of Lady, the main female character. She did another character.
She's the one who sang "He's a Tramp, but I Love Him." That was she. She sang that one. I remember that.
It was a character called Peg, who Lady met in the dog.
She had little things like I'm wearing today, little things hanging down like that. Only she had bangs down here. I remember. She's adorable.
And several of the dogs in the film do pegging, which was very, very weird for a children's film back then. I don't know what that means. No idea what that means.
Several of the dogs did what?
Never mind. He's just sniffing around.
Oh, my bark is worse than my bite. Anyway, so here's the deal, folks. David Sheward has won the game so far, but we have a tiebreaker, and we always do the tiebreaker anyway, because I put in all the damn work writing these questions. So do you all have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil or a magic marker or crayon or a pen to write with blood?
Yes.
So here's the deal. I'm going to ask our tiebreaker question, and afterward, I'll read it twice, and then I'll give a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and all of you at the same time will hold up your answers. And it's not for points, it's just for funsies. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Here's the tiebreaker. The year 1981. A year after the violent death of cardiologist Herman Tarnauer, his killer was sentenced to 15 years in prison for second-degree murder. Name that felon. La 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 up. La 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 la.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I can't remember. I'm not even gonna try. I know who it was, but I can't. I know what she looked like. I can't remember. her
Yeah,
name.
yeah. I don't even think I have her last name
All right,
correct. but
okay.
Well, I'll give a 3, 2, 1 count. I'll read the question one more time. So, a year after the violent death of cardiologist Herman Tarnauer, his killer was sentenced to 15 years in prison for second-degree murder. Name that felon. 3, 2, 1. Hold up those papers if you have any.
Oh, yeah. He got. I just have her first name. I put
Oh.
Smith. I have her first name. It is Harris.
It is Jean. It's Jean
Correct. Yes,
Harris.
David's right.
Leslie, you didn't have any. You didn't write
I
anybody
couldn't
down.
remember. I could remember what she looked like. She was an
You see-
early version of Martha Stewart. She was, she was the Martha Stewart of her time.
Yeah.
She had that
I
same-
knew her. I remember what she looked like. I
Right.
knew her first name was Jean. I forgot her last name, but David's right. It is Harris.
Or
Yeah.
Ellen
And,
Burstyn.
and he's got all the people who played her. Look at that. Wow.
Yeah, Dave, you got it. By the way, did you know? Well, first of all, Herman Tarnauer was, of course, everybody gets a point if they.
Scarsdale Diet. Yeah.
There you go. Scarsdale
Yeah.
Diet. Her
I
sentence
had the
was-
book until a few years ago, and I started to move. It was one of the books I gave away, but I had that book.
Did
So-
that
And
diet
it had the
really
word
work?
diet in the title. What? I missed
Did that
that.
diet really work? Did that diet
Yes,
really work?
Yes, if you
Wow.
didn't mind eating slabs of deli meat and cheese, 12 days a week, yes.
to that.
It was the most boring diet in the world. You had to eat hard-boiled eggs and you had to eat deli meat, but it did, because you were eating ridiculous stuff and you were eating small portions, So yes,
Remember,
of course.
my
it was.
dad was on it. He had whipped cream a lot. He was allowed to do that. It was like a treat was whipped.
No, you're thinking, no. You're thinking of the first, what turned out to be the keto diet. That was not the Scarsdale diet.
Keto was much later. My dad was on
No,
the-
but it's the same principle. The Scarsdale diet allowed different things on it.
Yeah.
I know. Ask me about a diet. I can win 100 points on that. But there was a diet that came right after the Scarsdale diet that was. I lost 35 pounds on it, but it was all meat. It was all meat and whipped cream and ice cream, and it was all fat and no carbs of any kind. But it was not Scarsdale.
Oh,
It was not the Scarsdale diet. It was the one that came after it, and I can't think of the name of it.
By the way, I want to give the trivia on this, that Jean Harris, she was convicted. She got 15 years, but her sentence was commuted in 1992 because she was in ill health. She was going in for heart surgery. Actually, she ended up living 20 more years. She always claimed, though, that she had been suicidal. She'd gone to him because he was cheating on her and all this stuff, and they got into a struggle, and the gun went off.
Well,
yeah.
We both
Yeah.
reached for the gun. The gun, the gun, the gun.
The gun-
Yeah, you're right. Chicago. Get Billy Quinn when you need. Where's Billy Quinn when you need him?
Anyway, we don't need Billy Flynn. We have our champion. His name is David Sheward with 9 points.
Welcome home, David.
Yeah.
How's your mom,
Leslie-
David? Is she fine?
Yeah, she's fine.
Good.
And Iris picked up, she has 4 points. Leslie with 5 points, so not a bad game. Everybody doing pretty.
I had 5 points.
Yes, you did, Les.
Where the hell did I get 5? I don't even remember getting 5 points.
Oh,
Iris,
yeah,
welcome. Please
oh, I
come
think-
back.
I think you got 3 points. I'm sorry, Les. I gave
Yeah, I didn't
two
think
of
I had
Iris's
5
points.
points. No, I didn't.
Iris,
think so.
no, Iris was on the board with 4. Leslie, you had 3.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Well,
I
well,
was
you'll
bringing
learn
up the
Iris.
rear.
Leslie is a stickler for the, she won't take points that aren't entitled to her, but God forbid you should keep points away from her that she is entitled to. It's like, So let me know real quick where we can read ya all. Iris, where do we read about your cannabis related and business related articles?
Forbes.
Oh, Forbes. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I've been writing a lot about the business of cannabis for Forbes, and also, I can't. Check out Forbes because I was thinking of other sites, and I was thinking, no, they'll put you to sleep. But check out the Forbes one.
So,
Iris, what is your last name, dear? I came late. so-
Dorbian, Dorbian.
do you have a website, where you have all your collected stuff? 'Cause books
I
that-
do. It's I have a website, www.irisdorbian.com, but I haven't really updated that. But I have a portfolio site that's more current. It's www.muckrack, like muckrackers, muckrack.com/Iris Dorbian.
Yeah. Well, I'll remind everybody as soon as I can finish writing that down. Muckrack.com/Iris Dorbian because again, you're not just writing articles on business and cannabis, but you had a book about your dad and
Yeah.
the
I
children.
had like a novel that was inspired by my father's experiences in a DP camp when he was a young Holocaust survivor. And also I wrote one, a young YA novel that was inspired by the real life Shakespeare in the Courts program in the Berkshires, in which juvenile delinquents are sentenced to take a Shakespeare workshop as a condition of their probation. That came out last year. And then about like 12 years ago, when I was still editor of Stage Directions, I wrote a nonfiction. I wrote a trade book for drama educators called Great Producers, Visionaries of the American Theater, in which I interviewed a lot of Broadway producers about.
On the back cover of that book. I forgot about that. That's right.
I remember that.
Where my
that?
royalties. Yeah. Anyway, that's where you can find Iris Dorbian's stuff. It's either irisdorbian.com or muckrack.com/Iris Dorbian, Dorbian. Now, Leslie Hoban Lake, we can see you. You guys just put up a new Critics Circle, didn't you, on YouTube?
We did, and I would like a favor from everybody on the panel. We talked about, because we did it on March 11th. I insisted that it be an anniversary show, and that we talk about the future of the theater, if there's going to be a future of the theater, because nobody knows. And the question that we asked, and we asked for comments, was, what would it take to get you back in a theater? And for some people, it's going to be the kind of show, and for some people, it's going to be the kind of seats, et cetera, et cetera. But what would it take to get you back? I have somebody who wrote, I'll never come back. If you wouldn't mind going to youtube.com, Critics Circle, and leaving us a comment, we'll aggregate them and talk about that as our next show. So we've got some wonderful, wonderful thoughts. And we're not naming anybody because we're aggregating. Everybody talks about chairs, that goes in one pile. But and if you can't get in, just send it directly to me at lhobanb261. I'll say it again.
I'll
For Iris, I'm saying it again. lhobanb261 @gmail. If you can't get into the comment section, but it's amazing.
Leslie, are you asking just the three of us, or are you asking everybody watching this program?
No. It's we asked in the show. We asked at the end of the show. We asked in the site itself, and I've called people and said, "Hey, please just give me what you think," because we've never done that. We've never reached out for comments, but it's on. I'm not sure I ever want to go back. I have to be honest with you.
Still, even with the
Yep. And I've gotten my first shot, and I'm about to get my second. And I really feel that half of the times I got sick in my life in the last 30 years were from some tourist sneezing on me who was sitting next to me and wiping his hand on my sleeve. I really believe that now. In retrospect, I didn't care then, but
see, there you go. See, Leslie, I'll give you my answer right now. It's just Eurasian hookers.
I'll give you my money. Just a second here.
Eurasian hookers during intermission.
So you can't wear it like it's not a chin strap. It's
no, just go into the theater like this.
I know.
Well, we are going to.
We're going to have to go in like that, and I'm just, I feel like we're playing Russian roulette, and I've made it this far.
With the shots,
yeah. I really feel that. Look, the variants are going wild in New York already. And the shots that we have are not necessarily. We don't know enough about it yet. This thing is not over. Everybody thinks that this is the end because we're getting shot.
No.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to go on a rant, but
no, it's not over. It's not over.
I must be the only person.
And by the way, it's
It's
surging in some states already.
Yes. Yes.
Because nobody under 50 has the shot yet. Give everybody the shot.
No, but just to address, I agree. I'm going to go with you, David, and say I don't know about never, if that's the question, but I feel okay to go into a movie theater right now.
No, I wouldn't.
with
I wouldn't dream of
with
doing that.
limited, as long as I'm far away from people and everybody wears a mask the whole time and it's limited capacity. However, that model, and I'm going to a show in 2 weeks, which is limited capacity, called Blindness, and but as
Where's
far
it
as
being done, David?
Is that the Daryl Roth?
at the Daryl Roth.
Yeah.
But there are no actors in it. It's all pre-recorded. It's voiceover.
Right, so the only people in danger are the audience members, right? Okay, I got it.
And we're all but I think that yes, it's not over now. I agree with you. And now I would not go to a full Broadway theater 100%.
No.
Now. I wouldn't do that now.
Would you do it in 6 months?
Probably, yeah. Depending on what's happening with the variants. I probably would.
Leslie's not convinced. Iris, I think you
And
would.
here's the
Yeah,
thing,
I would.
I've lived a very long time. I expected to die when this first happened because I'm old and I'm fat. So I figured I had 2 strikes against me. I made it through that. And I started to think, what do I want to do with the rest of my time? I do have stuff I want to write. My kids would love to have me move to Connecticut to be closer to them. If I'm not going to the theater, then there's nothing to tie me to New York except my love of New York and the fact that I'm a native New Yorker. And I always swore I would never leave. But theater is what holds me here now. I would love to. I haven't had a hug from my kids since last February. Not this year.
I haven't
a
had
year
a hug from your kids since last May.
That's true. No, it was August
Oh,
in
yeah.
2020. That's when you met my kids. So in 2019, I mean. So anyway, I really feel if it's going to be a question of my golden years, so to speak, what's left of them anyway, I think I'd rather make it comfortable for myself. I've gotten very used to watching theater on TV. I'm hoping that will be a component part of what producers come up with, and that within a year of a show I could watch it anyway, because otherwise I would have to be chopping on a train to come down from New Haven and whatnot, which I don't think is a good idea.
Let me throw that back at you, Leslie. Would you pay not $10 or $20? I mean, I know you're a critic, but
I would.
But would you pay $150 to watch a show on?
No, but I would go as high as 90. And I've thought about this. Pricing is also something that disturbs me, because if you have half a theater, then you have to charge twice as much for producers to make their money. And you also don't have to have $13 million musicals, which I've always said. And if I were still covering theater via television, if I had, because I have a podcast, if I were still covering it, I would assume some sort of press link.
Right.
So,
But I'm talking like the average person.
Right, but I've always been, and David, you know this, I've always been about where to get low price tickets, and we don't pay for the tickets, and you shouldn't have to pay that much for a ticket. And I don't want theater to be for the elite. I'm so thrilled that Shakespeare in the Park is opening. I would go to that, but I would ask if I could stand in the stairwell. I would want to stand in the stairwell or sit on my walker.
Well, what if there's 50 other people who feel like you and they want to be in the stairwell? I mean,
yeah, but I have a walker. I could use it as an excuse and sit on my walker,
Or just bash people with it. They get near you.
I could do that. I have a very lightweight walker, so yes, I could do that too.
Well,
but you understand. I'm all for the Shed is supposed to be doing some stuff. I don't know that cockamamie caterpillar-like shed.
The Shed? Shed. Sorry, no. Sorry.
In Hudson Yards is reopening, and they're going to be doing something. And Lincoln Center is opening up 11 or 12 outdoor spaces. I mean, that to me is a very intriguing idea. And by the way, Iris, Forbes is covering. I can't think of the fellow's name, but there's a guy writing for Forbes about the economy of the theater, and of course it takes in all the problems of the theater. I've become a big fan of his. I just can't think of his name.
Do you remember?
And that's his. He writes about the economy of the theater, which is it's like David Barber and his lighting magazine. It's a different way of looking at theater. It comes from a different aspect, and that puts a lot of things in perspective. And I do understand that the producers have to make, but understand that Off-Broadway will come back before Broadway comes back.
April 2nd.
Off-Broadway will come back because there is not this monolith
Yeah.
that says you got to do it this way, and the unions have to come up and help people out. I could go on for days about this.
We all could have, but the one thing that I have to do is do the rest of this very virtual, non-live, non-congregate show.
And I have to wait for you to put it up so I can watch Hershey.
Yeah, there
I
you
love
go.
Hershey.
Yeah.
What is his new show? Which one is he doing next?
I can't even. He did Rachmaninoff. He just did. Sholem,
just
he's working
he
on
just
Bach.
did Sholem Aleichem.
Right. He's Bach is coming up in a few months, but he's doing. Oh, I forget what he's. There's a Tchaikovsky one that's very recent.
Tchaikovsky's up. He had 5 when we interviewed him at the beginning of the season. He had a list of 5, and there are 2 more left. I just can't remember what they are.
He's done a Chopin, a Puccini, but I think there's one other that I'm.
I think Puccini is next.
Might be Puccini.
I think Puccini is next. Yeah.
So there you go.
Did you watch any of them? Have you seen any of them?
I have seen the Sholem Aleichem, which now that he's not with us, I like parts of, and other parts is like enough for the klezmer already. Just get back to the story, you know? It's like 20 minutes of story and 50 or 80 minutes.
Well, he's trying new things because he can't do what he normally does. And I give him great props for doing that. Plus, he lives, for God's sakes, he lives in a palazzo. He actually lives in a palazzo. He took us around on a virtual visit. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Nice. It's just amazing.
In Florence, one of the most gorgeous places.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh wow. Gorgeous.
So Iris, have you booked your Spain tickets yet? Are you gonna, or not yet?
I put a small deposit on a trip, but late September. So we'll see. Hopefully Spain will be okay by late September. Small deposit, because of the previous 2 canceled trips. So that way,
yeah.
But have you asked the airline if it doesn't work out, can they move it to like Bristow, Oklahoma? Because that would be a reasonable no. Anyway,
just to finish, my YouTube thing is Critic Circle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On YouTube. That's okay. And then you haven't done David. So
Critic Circle, you can find that on YouTube. Now, David Sheward, who's been sitting there for an hour and a half.
What time is it? What
David Sheward, people can read you at David Desk, the blog, as well as theaterlife.com and culturalweekly.com. Very quickly, what is something that you've written in the last week or 2 that people can read?
I do have some reviews of Nomadland and Pieces of a Woman and Supernova on those sites. My blog, I have some political thoughts, and I'm working on various other things. Like I might be doing a piece on my favorite Saturday morning superheroes, just for fun.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder how much political writing people are doing now that Trump is out of office. It's like, you want to bash.
I know. I can breathe again. I know.
Yeah.
There are a lot of.
Where were you on Pinky and the Brain? Where were you on that one?
It's enjoyable. It's a fun show.
Oh, it was my favorite, Pinky and the Brain.
There's still a lot of political debate. There are things going on in the United States. There are crazy situations.
I would think hate against Asian Americans is high on the list.
Yes, and there are this crazy congressman from Texas invoking lynching and all kinds of weird
stuff. I missed that. Okay.
Well, it's a whole thing. He basically was saying, don't you dare tell me what to say, or we're in a free society. People can say whatever they want.
True.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they should. In theory, yes.
We should be, he was saying, we should be concentrating on punishing people who do crimes, like the man who shot the people in Atlanta, and not wasting our time on, controlling people's thoughts and what they say, meaning
Agreed.
Don't. But what the whole, okay, if you want to get into it, I'll
it's 12.
Just to say that what he was dismissing the concerns of the fact that Trump and people like him saying things like the China virus, Kung flu, things like that have an effect and make and influence people, like, we don't know, but influence people to punch old Asian people on the streets. And what the point is that, no, you can criticize the Chinese Communist government, or you can say whatever you want, but people in high authority should be careful and mindful of the effect they have, and saying that things like and not coming out and saying you should not go out and beat up old Asian people. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Which Trump never did.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, you punch an Asian person an hour later, you want to punch them all over again.
Oh my God. And also the fact that George W. Bush, after 9/11, went out of his way and deliberately said we should not blame Muslim people or Arab people in our country for the 9/11 attacks, and you should not go out and commit violence against people who are Arab or Muslim. And Trump never said, anything like that about
Still hasn't said,
about
still
it.
hasn't come out to take, still hasn't come out to, he's still saying it on the Fox network. He's still, that's my
Let's
point.
take on the phone
He's
right
still
now.
saying these things.
And that's what
He's
this,
still
this-
saying these things on the Fox network.
and then
So,
that's what this
he's
guy
repeating it.
that's what this
I'll be
guy
with
from
you in a minute.
Texas was saying was, this doesn't matter. This is all being politically correct.
Right.
All liberals are just politically correct, and you want to control my thoughts.
Right.
All right, I get what you're saying.
And then the other thing, of course, is voter suppression. When we take care of
Oh.
those two, those are the things
yeah,
on
yeah.
top.
Oh,
So,
my God.
Yeah.
I know. Love you all.
Anyway,
Iris, please come back. I'm gonna go look at your stuff. I'm gonna go
Iris,
now.
did you have fun? Did you enjoy playing the game?
She did really well.
Yes. Yes.
Very
I'm
well.
surprised. I actually got a few. I
I got,
expected to
can you
get
hang on a second?
zero.
Let me call you back.
Yeah, Leslie's going to take a call.
You
You want me to call you back?
Well, I should just get off the call.
Call.
Well, Iris, we would love to have you back. We'll let you know when we can get you on because this worked out really well. David, yes, you were saying something.
When you do that.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking with Leslie Hoban Blake, Iris Dorbian, David Sheward on Dave's Gone By today, yesterday. Stay healthy, enjoy, happy springtime to you, and we'll see
Happy
you
spring,
all
everybody.
very,
Happy
very
spring.
soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm just going to take you all out. It'll take just a moment. And bye-bye, Leslie. And I stay. So hello,
That
and
was a very good, very competitive.
yeah, what a good game,
They were
man.
super competitive, David. Wowee.
And congratulations again to David Sheward, our reigning
He
maven.
must have an eidetic memory or something that he can.
Yeah.
I
What's the
don't
word?
know. I mean,
Eidetic?
Is
that
it eidetic? I don't know. It's something like that.
that thing where you don't forget?
But I think he just he has such a broad scope of knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? How does he know it all?
I don't know.
I think because he teaches, he has to be really quick. When you teach, you have to pull things really quick.
But he's only been a teacher for a few years. He was a theater critic. He was
Well,
running.
but he also wrote writers.
Yeah.
Do, footnotes. Stuff.
Yeah, but I can't. I'm 57. I don't remember what I had for breakfast. What did I have for breakfast? Oh, I had cereal. I had ridiculous like Dunkin' Donuts cereal because I couldn't resist. It was a brand new cereal, and then it was really cheap. They were trying to get people to buy this stuff, so it was $1 a box for Dunkin' Donuts caramel macchiato cereal. It's really it's like Lucky Charms with chocolate balls. It's like Cocoa Puffs with little marshmallows in it, and they're calling it Dunkin' Donuts. Do not buy it. It's you eat it. It's pure sugar. It goes even beyond the schmaltz or the pastries that Hershey Felder was talking about. It's a bowl of brown sugar. How come it tastes so good? Anyway.
You enjoyed it though, huh?
And good taste is something this show is certainly not known for. This show is Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my wonderful, adorable wife, Joyce, and such terrific guests that we've had in the program. Yes, we're over time. We're supposed to go from 9 until noon. And when I'm planning the show out, I'm figuring, okay, so this will take this long, and this segment we'll do here, and then we've got today, yesterday, take about 40 minutes, and then suddenly I'm like, I get through most of the show, and it's 11:45, and we're still not done with the show. We still have more to do. We haven't done Greeley Crimes and Old Times. So we're going to do a few of them. We also have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. And then we'll be able to say goodbye. But hang with us. We'll be here probably another half hour. So are you ready for some criminality, dear? Are you ready for the terrible things that are noticed and witnessed in Greeley, Colorado for our Greeley...
Goldplank said bravo.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Richie. We'll see him next. Richie Goldplank is going to be our guest in the Daverhood. I'll tell you a little bit about him later. But first, it's Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, Greeley Crimes and Old Times. here on this Saturday, March 20th, 2021, where we are doing the 790th episode of Dave's Gone By. We're calling it, and let's face it, yeah, you gotta give it to Hershey Felder for being a good sport, because he had to see this up the whole
Of course
time.
he did, yes.
Calling the episode Hershey
The
Highway.
man made himself an egg cream with schmaltz. So, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
he's used to torture.
He is indeed. But in honor of him, that's what we're calling this episode, and in honor of columns that appear in the Greeley Tribune newspaper in northern Colorado. Once a week, there's a column called Cop Log of phone calls that come into the Greeley Police Dispatch of stuff that people are seeing around them. And 100 years ago, where Mike Peters, our friend of the Daverhood, goes through the newspapers back in 1921 and picks out the funniest, weirdest, most nostalgic items from a modern perspective. Are you ready for some criminality, my darling?
Yes.
Here we go. We begin Greeley Crimes at Old Times with a crime. A woman on 4th Avenue reported someone parked in her husband's spot on the street. She was told that the street is public parking, but she didn't seem to follow. I'm not sure how hard that would be to explain. She was like, anybody can park there. I don't get it. No, anybody. It's public parking.
Anybody, but that's her husband's spot.
I don't understand. I don't know.
You don't own the space in front of your house, even.
That is true. Anybody can, yeah. You can complain, though. You can say, hey, please don't. But, yeah. A caller to the police station wanted police to inform...
I'm cleaning my glasses. Hold on.
Oh, Joyce is busy cleaning her glasses. She can't do a sound effect yet. Wait, do it by voice. Do a caller.
I can't do that.
She wanted police to inform her soon-to-be ex-husband that the civil papers he had been served were legal. Police advised her that that's up to a judge, and that they wouldn't call him to tell her that, to tell him that. She responded that, quote, she was glad police were being defunded.
Your mama. That's like your mama.
It's like, I pay your taxes. That's the only way. It's like,
Yeah, but that's like a court thing. You can't.
Yeah. And here's another caller. A caller on 7th Avenue reported a suspicious man in the backyard shouting either at or about, quote, Nazareth and Jesus. The power was out, so the caller was afraid to go outside. Yeah.
What does the power out have to do with anything?
Well, if there's a strange man in your backyard going, Nazareth! Jesus!
Yeah, but
would you go out? And,
but what does it matter if the power's on or not?
Well, when it's light out, you might feel a little more comfortable. Plus, you need light to aim.
Here we go.
Yeah. Let's do some old-time stuff. These are things that happened and were in the newspaper 100 years ago. The Greeley YMYW, not the YMCA, but the YMYW, Your Mind, Your World, group held their annual colonial party at the group's clubhouse. Each year, on this date, the members celebrate our first president, with everyone dressed up like George or Martha Washington. And, I'm sorry, didn't they realize he was a slave holder and a white guy who deserved to be vilified? Those people back then, I don't know. Anyway, Choleric, a Routt County rancher. This is his name.
Choleric? It says a colonic.
And well, I think highly of him. Hi, Colonic. Hi, Colonic. Choleric, this rancher was in Weld County this week to purchase a new Ford Auto.
Ooh.
He will drive it home sometime this week. And by the way, folks, this fall on ABC, Choleric. Doesn't it sound like one of those shows like,
it's like
Manimal
or like Magnum PI.
Exactly. Newly elected DA Lewis Reed refuses...
Oh, Lou Reed.
That's right, Lou Reed, an earlier Lou Reed, refuses to move into the Weld County Courthouse offices. He insists on an office in the Coronado Building office suites. That isn't where our tax guy was. It will cost the county thousands of dollars to let him stay there.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. The courthouse is really nice. I don't know why. I mean, the Coronado building is really, really nice
It's
too.
much
But,
more historic, yeah.
yeah. Well, actually, it probably wasn't historic back in 1920. They probably just built it.
Maybe you didn't want to be. You have to go through. Did they have metal detectors? No, right?
No.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it might be scary to go into a court building with all these. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, by the way, the small boys of Platteville.
Oh, God. Wait, hold on.
They're really small. The small boys of Platteville played baseball against the small boys of Gilcrest this week.
Oh, wow.
Platteville won 26-24. Yeah, because nobody could catch a pop fly. It's like, okay, over there.
Oh.
Here's a little more criminality for you. Police responded to a parking lot where a man was yelling and cussing at people.
Uh-huh.
This is, by the way, this is new. This is not from, and yet they're using the word cussing. He was cussing at people outside of a juice shop.
Oh, we know where that is, like an Institute.
Yeah. His vehicle broke down, and he was yelling and cussing at the car. He said he would stop.
If my car broke
Come on,
down by a
Abby.
juice shop, I'd yell and cuss too.
Yeah. I know. Plus, it was a hate crime because he was cursing out the juice. What? What? You want me to go elsewhere?
Sure.
You want me to read a story that has nothing to do with Colorado, but is a weird story from elsewhere in the world? This is not funny. It's not funny, and yet I am tickled. This happened this past week in Tempe, Arizona. Arizona Diamondbacks first base coach, Dave McKay, fell in the dugout last week. It's not funny. I don't know why I find this funny.
That's sad.
He suffered a broken rib and a lacerated spleen.
Oh.
I mean, I'm sorry, but it must have been funny to watch, even if it was a horrible thing.
But what's the story?
Diamondbacks manager Tori Lavulo said 70-year-old McKay was wearing a new pair of shoes on Tuesday.
Yeah.
He tripped on the bottom step of the dugout and fell against the bench during a game against the San Francisco Giants. He quickly recovered and stayed at the park, but he started feeling more pain on Wednesday. McKay is now resting comfortably after, quote, a little procedure to cauterize the spleen.
Oh.
Everything is thumbs up right now. Well, this proctologist is a thumb up here. Spleen's looking okay. Let's do a little bit more. Let's do a little more really crimes and old times on this Dave's Gone By. A caller on 12th Street was planning to go, quote, really fast on longboards and wanted to know if an officer could be on standby in case of a crash. Isn't that great? He's like, he wanted to do a stupid, dangerous
I
stunt.
don't think that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I get the idea of wanting to pre-plan
I would
and being
also call
cautious.
for paramedics over police, right?
Oh, yeah, you think about it. I would say he should do it. He should go to Aqueduct Racetrack and do it there. Since the paramedics are
He's
there
in
waiting.
Colorado.
Oh, well, still. There's probably a racetrack or maybe were there racetracks in Colorado? There must
I
be
don't
one.
think so.
I don't know.
Well, there were casinos, but they were like Red Rocks. They were not Red Rocks. They were exploitation of Native Americans, like indigenous people.
As well they
casinos.
should be.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but I don't know where they were. I know we had a couple.
Anywho, a man walked outside to smoke a cigarette on 13th Street.
Good.
Called the police when he reported seeing two boys wearing backpacks in the back of a truck trying to open a toolbox.
I think they're called construction workers.
Yeah, it's just this is why they call the police. It's like the backpacks are a giveaway.
That's concerning.
I know. It's all concerning. Let's do. This is perfect for so much of the stuff that we've been talking about. Not only do we have a chicken alert, we have a chicken and racism alert. He's not squeaking too well.
He's squeaking from the side. Hold him sideways.
Side like this? No, like.
There you go.
I should do this when I first start the show, like people waking up like,
Gone away, David.
ah!
Yeah, that's great.
Well, so this is a chicken and racism alert. This is exciting. From 100
David,
years
the duck
ago.
photographs beautifully.
Oh, good. At the Big Bend School, Professor Mudd is hosting a singing party for students and their parents. A variety of songs.
Professor Mugg?
Mudd, like Roger Mudd, M-U-D-D, is hosting a singing party for students and their parents. A variety of songs will be sung and played on 2 fiddles, a piano, horn, and flute.
Too fitting?
The theme of the party is, quote, resolved. That stealing chickens ain't no crime. Literally, D-A-T. Dat stealing chickens ain't no crime. Oh, them Coloradans from 10 decades ago.
They'd be having a good time.
Oh, camp down Colorado and sing that song. Do-da, do-da. Got that chicken. I'm sorry, what was that?
Where's Hershey Felder?
No, you need him, I'm telling you. Anyway, oh, don't go away, ladies and gentlemen. This is unbelievable. Now we just have a plain old chicken alert. Chicken alert. This is, by the way, a chicken alert just means we have a story about a chicken. From 100 years ago, Larimer County Sheriff Frank Smith was in Greeley this week to escort 2 prisoners being held in the Weld County Jail. They will be transferred to the Larimer County Jail on charges of...
Homelessness.
No.
Hoboing.
No.
Cattle, chicken stealing. Chicken.
They were stealing... Yeah.
Chicken wrestling.
No, they may have been wrestling the chickens to steal them, but they were chicken thieves. And in a separate case, 100 Rhode Island red chickens were stolen Wednesday night from the Albert Howard Ranch north of Greeley. Wow. What an effort must go into trying to steal 100 chickens.
Be so loud.
I mean, and you have to throw them in a van or in a...
You gotta get like a container.
Or a case or something like that.
It's too loud. Too much clucking.
Or you just open the door and you leave a strand of pellets. I don't know.
I don't think they come to pellets.
Well, whatever chickens eat. Anyway, let's finish up Greeley Crimes of Old Times for this Saturday afternoon, March 20th. We'll do 1 or 2 more. Here we go. What? How did I miss this? Oh, this was... Sorry, just give me a moment, folks. There's a lot of old-time stuff. Well, let's do some... In fact, let's do a little more old-time stuff. Sports team names were certainly more fun back then. The Windsor baseball team, the Salamanders.
Oh,
Isn't that sweet? The Salamanders
that's a nice name.
got a new coach and a captain this week, while in basketball, the Milliken first team beat the Greeley High School Kittens,
Aw.
48-6.
Why would you name yourself Kittens? That's not a fierce name.
Yeah, there's a reason they lost 48-6.
Because they're the kittens.
Not Tomcats, not Wildcats, not Lions, not Tigers, not Pumas. No, well,
Like the kittens.
here, you
There
have
we
the
go.
ball. I'm going to sit on the window for 2 hours. Anywho. That all being from 100 years ago. 2 Greeley police officers saved a restaurant from being destroyed on Sunday morning. This is back in 1921. They were walking in an alley behind the restaurant when they smelled smoke. They went inside to discover a fire that they quickly extinguished. The fire apparently started when someone threw a hot cigarette into, what do you think?
A gasoline can.
No. That would be understandable.
Yeah.
I would get that.
Mm-hmm.
Someone threw a hot cigarette into a tub of lard.
Oh, maybe schnalls.
So, basically, that's what it is. It's unkosher. So many questions. For example, lard is flammable?
Yes, fat.
So I thought that just
It's
gets
like
hot and
Crisco.
crispy.
It's like Crisco, baby.
But it doesn't go on fire. It just gets really hot and goes bubbly, 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 no?
Apparently, no. Apparently it is.
And it also makes me wonder, this worker or cook or somebody threw a lit, to extinguish a cigarette into a tub of lard. Is that lard bucket acting as both an ashtray and a food source? Yeah, I wonder about that. You cook with the lard. Is this sort of like, who wants eggs? I don't know. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. Here we go.
Eggs.
Ah. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the Gilbert Bishop drugstores in Greeley are now selling a blood purifier. Old Mrs. Sorry, no, I'm wrong about this. Forgive me. They're selling a blood purifier. Old Missouri Sassafras is selling for 15 cents per package. Does sassafras purify the blood?
I don't even know. Oh, sassafras.
I thought
is
that was like
liquor.
what they made root beer out of or
Yeah,
something.
yes.
Or birch beer or one of those things. I didn't realize that was good. I would drink more root beer. I love root beer. I would drink that if it was purifying my blood. It's making 100% pure sugar is what it's actually doing. I don't know. Anyway, it's 12:30 in the afternoon. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. We still have Colorado Limerick of the Dam to do. So let's finish up this edition of Greeley Crimes and Old Times.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool.
He wasn't.
I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi-yi-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi.
Well, he earns high marks from me. Thank you, Groucho, there, for the outro for Greeley Crimes and Old Times. We're half-hour overtime, still not quite finished with this episode of Dave's Gone By. As I promised, or maybe the word is warned, we have our Colorado Limerick left. But before that, let us thank one more time, or several more times, so many of the guests that we had in the Daverhood. Thank you very, very much. Of course, to David Sheward for playing the Today-Yesterday game, which he won with a big tally of 9 points. Remember that David Sheward has the David Desk blog, as well as his the theater website that he writes for, theaterlife.com and culturalweekly.com. Thank you also to Leslie Hoban Blake, who you can see on YouTube with her co-host Charlie Gross doing Critics Circle, where they talk about pandemical life and the theater that they're watching, and they also interview theater people. It's called Critics Circle. You can find it on that channel on YouTube. And thank you very, very much to our new old guest, Iris Dorbian. Read her articles about business and especially the cannabis business in Forbes magazine. Iris Dorbian, Dorbian. So she's got one website, irisdorbian.com, and muckrack.com/Iris Dorbian. Thank them all for being in the Daverhood. Thank you very, 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 very much to Hershey Felder for being with us.
You can actually live stream or watch videos of his shows, all of them.
Yes,
on his site. The site's in there, both. It's hersheyfelder.net.
Hershey.
Watch both, yeah.
Here we go. It's Hershey Felder, FELDER.net to watch shows about Gershwin and Beethoven.
Video on demand or live streaming.
There you go. Yeah.
I think I'm confused.
Well, these are pre-recorded now, so.
It says how to watch. It says live on demand or live stream. Let's see if live stream.
I'm not sure what the difference. I guess you can pre.
Oh, live stream is like one-time event when it's happening. But
yeah, he'll do some live stuff too.
Video on demand.
Yeah, like Gershwin. And what else has he got there?
He's got Irving Berlin, Beethoven, and Gershwin.
Right, and I think you should also be able to find Before Fiddler, his one about Shalom Aleichem, and
he's got he writes a lot about a lot of context for the shows too.
So yeah, Hershey Felder, thank him very, very much for being a very, very good sport. All things considered, a very good sport.
And giving so much money back to people who need it. I mean, that's amazing.
He's living in a palazzo in Italy, and he's married to an ex-prime minister. He's probably doing okay. Still, even if I were, I don't know how much money I'd give away. I mean,
I think it's really nice.
Yeah.
And I think the way that because I was worried when I saw the show how they did it how those actors work together.
Yeah.
And I thought his explanation was really excellent.
Well, no, they're all dead now.
No, but I thought it made sense how he described what they did.
So he's taking very good care and putting all those things in place. They have
cautious.
to be. Yeah. I mean, they have a doctor on set. Think about that. So he took a lot of effort to put that together.
I think they're like 55. Let me see how much they are. Purchase new tickets. So you can get the
Yeah.
Puccini one for like $55.
Mm-hmm.
They're all 55. It seems like that's his fee. Yeah. And then Tchaikovsky's 45. Must be a little older. Or he's got Cooking French in Florence.
Oh, I forgot
So
that.
he's got
yeah.
some cooking stuff as well you can watch.
Yeah. Well, who knew they could cook in Italy? Who
I
would
know.
figure that
We
they have
cooked
good
in
food
Italy.
there? Mm.
So they're a Paris love story. Some of the stuff is either 55 or 45.
All right. Well, it's you're paying for all those protocols in place. You're paying for the talent, paying for a
He
mix
paid all
of
his actors,
music.
even the kids,
Yeah.
even the children.
Yeah. And that, unfortunately, that's what it costs. Unfortunately, he can't charge $20 for tickets.
If you perform in Italy, are you SAG or is there an Italian Actors Guild? Like,
I don't know.
I know it's.
Joyce is showing me something that
No,
I would get a lot more viewers if we did.
Look
But
at my face. I scrubbed with the washcloth because I had the headache and I had blotches places.
so whatever. But thank you to Hershey Felder. Go to hersheyfelder.net, and thank you also to Samantha Voksakis of
Who's
his
that?
production company,
Oh.
who helped set up the interview.
He was so humble. What a really,
Yeah.
just a really a mensch. You know?
He's a nice Jewish.
He's a
Yes,
mensch.
a mensch
He's a mensch,
indeed.
yeah.
Someone who's never a mensch is Rabbi Saul Solomon. You can find out more about him by going to his website, shalomdammit.com. Shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T.
Yeah, say that Leslie is going to perform.
Oh, that's right.
Charlie,
Leslie and Charlie, our friends of the Daverhood, will be.
It's on there, but Charlie has it on Facebook. You know.
Yeah, go to Charlie Gross's Facebook page
Yeah.
because I think it's March
I'll tell you.
23rd.
Want me to look? I'll look.
Oh, please do.
Hold on, let me look.
Joyce is looking where you can go see in person
Slow.
on the TKTS big old red staircase that they have
Because
up on Times Square.
I wrote to him congratulating him.
Yeah. He's doing. They're doing like 5-minute bits. All these people showing up and just doing 5 minutes
Very
distance.
exciting news. I will be performing 5-minute monologue at Times Square, the Red Steps, Duffy Square, TKTS, booth 7th and 47th.
Mhm.
Tuesday, March 23rd at 6:45.
Tuesday, so this Tuesday at 6:45 in the evening. If you can get there, if you're in New York, go to. There's a whole bunch of people will be performing 5-minute monologues, including Charlie Gross and Leslie Hoban Blake.
That's great.
Unfortunately, Leslie's probably booked for like 4:30, and she'll show up at 7:30 in the
No,
evening.
she'll be there.
She'll
She has
know.
to be there for that time.
So
Does she
anyway,
have Facebook?
Leslie, no, Leslie's not really social media anything. She's not part of that whole scene. Charlie is. Charlie's very much social media.
Okay.
But thank you to all those folks, and thank you to Rabbi Saul. ShalomDammit.com is his website. You can watch his one-man show, Shalom Dammit, An Evening with Rabbi Saul Solomon, which they have really well filmed footage of the whole show when it was done at the Richmond Shepherd Theater about a decade ago. ShalomDammit.com, plus his TV show that he did, plus all his rabbinical reflections and links to all the interviews he's done on this program. It's a really great central place for all things. If you want to get solemnized, ShalomDammit.com is the place to go. And since we're talking about all these friends of the Daverhood, old and new, and playing a little classical music in honor of Hershey Felder, let's do the Friends of the Daverhood. So yes, let's tell you about what people who have been on this program in the past, what they're up to, because we think of them as kind of friends and family of the show. Letting you know that actress Karen Grasley will be reading, and has been for the past few weeks, is reading children's stories on YouTube. So just go to Karen Grasley's channel, Grassle. And also, you can still watch The Megillah Cycle, directed by Mike Burstyn, starring him, Avi Hoffman, Alan Lewis Rickman, and Eleanor Risa. All of them are friends of the Daverhood. You can find that for free, congressforjewishculture.org, congressforjewishculture.org. Also letting you know, now through the end of next week, Gabriel Barry our director friend, is staging a virtual musical called Lights on the Radio. So go find that. It's Gabriel Barry, Barre. Steve Kaplan is doing his comedy intensive online. For those of you who want to write comic scripts for films, kaplancomedy.com. kaplancomedy.com. Want to let you know also that we actually saw this week, and I liked it. Jill Eikenberry is co-starring in a play called Jericho.
Oh,
We watched it. That was the one.
Yes.
Yes, about the Jewish family.
And they're married, two of the actors.
Yeah, like the two kind of the lead actors. They're all sort of leads. It's all kind of a co-lead thing. There's some really good writing in this play. It's called Jericho, newnormalrep.org.
But they don't live in Jericho. Is that where the house is?
Jericho, Long Island. That's the mother's house where they come
Jericho,
for the.
gotcha.
Yeah. Newnormalrep.org. And it's a mix of. A lot of it is comic, but there's some dark stuff there too. There's two characters whose lives were very much affected by 9/11, and they're not connected together, but they eventually sort of get connected. Again, it's worth seeing. Jericho at newnormalrep.org with our friend Jill Eikenberry. I made her Jewish because her character is so Jewish. Jill Eikenberry is in it. Want to let you know that on March 22nd, which is shortly, which is, let's see, today is 20th, 1 to Monday. Theater for the New City is doing their 50th anniversary gala featuring Phoebe Legere and Charles Bush, two of our friends. Go to theaterforthenewcity.net. And our friend, I mentioned, here's Charlie Gross, his thing in Duffy Square, that's on the 23rd, and Leslie will be there as well.
I'm sure if people go early, it's going to be 5 minutes per person.
Yeah, so you'll get there at noon.
Yeah, probably is.
Yeah. Anne Harada and Melissa Errico are taking part in a panel on women in the theater from New York. It's being done from the Theater Barn. This is happening on March 24th. I don't know. I mean, it's a virtual thing, but there it is. They're part of this panel that will be done on Zoom. Want to also let you know that, from March 25th through March 28th, it's an Austin Pendleton alert. Austin Pendleton, he used to show up every week in this. So he is in a virtual production of Night of the Iguana, which stars Dylan McDermott and Felicia Rashad. You can get tickets for that at stellartickets.com.
Oh my goodness.
What, babe? Well, what do you see? What's up?
So Hershey Felder wrote, Hershey Felder, Annie Golden, multi-talented host, actors, theater critics, journalists for trivia and discussions. I will need my A game if I have one. Seriously. I have myself in lockdown until April 15th after a shot. I look homeless. After months of exile, I get a hair and a shave, but I'm an alta caca with COPD.
He's 52 years old. He's not an alta caca in any way, shape, or form.
He's afraid, I think, compared to the others. Listen, I'm blotchy. Don't feel bad.
And you want to talk about, hair and shave? Yeah, I saw his haircut. His haircut looks like a $150 haircut. He's doing all right.
We love you just the way you are.
That's nice. That's nice. I want to remind you that Barbara Fasano and Eric Comstock are doing duets of classic American songs on their YouTube page. Evan Seplow is the founder and editor of StageBuddy.com. He also writes for it. Dr. Demento, still doing new Dr. Demento shows every week at drdemento.com. Soundsofbroadway.com, just celebrating, I think it's their second anniversary. It's a website of 24/7 show tunes and theater music.
76.
Soundsofbroadway.com from our friend Stuart Brown. And of course, for podcasts about upstate New York history, go to bobcudmore.com. Those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Oh, that's where I came in. Ladies and gentlemen, we're almost done with the program. We're almost 4 hours in. I want to let you know that Richie Goldklang will be our guest on the episode next Saturday, when we return from
Clang,
9.
clang goes the trolley.
Clang, clang goes the trolley. Richie Goldklang, he's an IT kind of a guy, but back in the 60s, or maybe late 60s, he was in a sort of a psychedelic-ish garage band called the Third Bardo, which is almost virtually forgotten, except that they made it onto that Rhino Nuggets collection that was so seminal back when that was released. And so, so a member of the Third Bardo, Richie Goldklang, will be with us on our next edition of Dave's Gone By next Saturday. But before then, oh yes, I have not forgotten. I never forget this. Ladies and gentlemen, the torture will commence with our Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick.
Rocky Mountain,
Oh, Colorado, Rago, indeed, Christine Lavin. Yes, it is time for our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. So what this is essentially from living in Colorado and loving Colorado. A couple of years ago, I started just out of the blue wanting to write a couple of quick, dirty little poems about different places in Colorado. And I did. And then I couldn't stop myself. It's kind of like my collecting you-know-whats. I still do it. I still try and do a new one every week. Got dozens and dozens of them now. These Colorado limericks of the damned. And we call them that because, limericks tend to veer towards either the comic or the rude or the downright disgusting. Depending on the week, I go to all three. Let's see how, this one's bad. Yeah, this one, you probably want to get the kids out of the room, the grannies out of the room. Basically, you should leave the room. Don't stop the show, but just go to the bathroom now, go start making your lunch, and then come back in about 2 minutes when this poem will be over, the stink will have cleared from the air, and we can properly end the show. But until then, we are going to Ellicott, Colorado for our limerick this week. Ellicott is an unincorporated community in El Paso County, which is in south central Colorado. It has lots of farms and ranches, including Next Step Horse Rescue. I guess, if the horse can't make the next step, they won't rescue it. And it's also pretty near Colorado Springs, and they're, quote, damn near anything swine ranch. Yeah, this is Colorado. This is particularly Ellicott, Colorado. And how could I resist writing a filthy, terrible, terrible poem about Ellicott, Colorado, our Colorado limerick of the damned. Oh, and by the way, it's racist too. So we're covering all the bases. Here we go. A young Chinese lady from Ellicott would tell all the boys she was very hot. But when the men tried her, they couldn't abide her, 'cause that little whore had a smelly twat. If you want to complain, and I'm sure you will, you can either write to me right on this Facebook page or email me, davesgoneby@aol.com, davesgoneby, davesgoneby@aol.com. Oh, go ahead and complain. I know, smelly twat. Go ahead. davesgoneby@aol.com. I read everything. I try and answer as much as I can. You can also check my Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2. Radio Dave and the number 2 is my Twitter. I tried over the past couple of weeks, I've been trying to post on Instagram. Sometimes it lets me, sometimes it doesn't. It's because I'm not doing it by telephone. I'm trying to do an Instagram thing. It's not really working out. But I do have the Twitter. I do have the Facebook. We have our shows posted as best we can on YouTube. We've stopped playing a lot of music in the show. I'm sure you've noticed. So that, therefore, YouTube isn't giving us a problem with copyright. We post our old shows on archive.org, which is a collective nonprofit website, archive.org. We post our audio of all our shows at castbox.fm, for those of you who are into podcasts only, but we put everything at davesgoneby.com. This is, every show we've ever done. The previous 789, except one or two we lost from technical glitches. And in a day, we'll have 790 up there as well. So it's all there, davesgoneby.com. What else can I tell you? Oh, I have to give a shout out. I totally forgot. To our fine friends at Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Broadway. Remember, they have been sponsoring this program since we started back in 2002. They're still there. They're still family run by the Toron family, and they still do fine quality work for everything your business might need. For example, let's do F for Felder in honor of Hershey Felder. Let's see just the letter F of all the things that they can do. Well, that's the letter D. I have to go a little more for F here. Where the hell is F? Here, let's just follow my finger. Okay. Can I read this? Can I? They have favors, comma, party. Well, that's cheating a little bit. Fax service, file cards, floor mats, flyers, foil embossing, foil stamping. So if you're angry at foil, you just stamp on it. Folders, fold over business cards, foreign language invitations, and all kinds of forms. You can see for business cards and brochures, postcards. Basically, if your business needs it, Unit Minuteman Press can help with it. Plus, if you need business cards or you need holiday invitations, Passover's coming, Easter's coming, people are going to want to send out cards that look official. Unit Minuteman can help you do that as well. Plus, they're a copy place. You need photocopies, black and white color, special paper. They can do it all for you. And if you tell them Dave sent you, you get 10% off any job, big or small. So give them a call. 516-569-5577. Area code 516-569-5577. Hewlett Minuteman Press. They are the copy kings. Well, it is, it's 5-1, ladies and gentlemen. No, I used to do these shows, maybe because I was playing music. And I would have an hour of music in these things. But I used to go 4, 5, sometimes 5.5 hours with Dave's Gone By and not be beaten to a pulp. I've gotten older. and also with music not part of the show, and really nothing pre-recorded in the show these days, I come out of here, I'm like, oh, I've just been talking for 4 hours straight. Kill me. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's as good a place as any to stop this episode, our 790th of Dave's Gone By. We've been calling it Hershey Highway because it's been very sweet to do this show with you, with Hershey Felder, with Iris Dorbian, and David Sheward, and Leslie Hoban Blake, and Rabbi Saul, and most importantly, my beautiful, darling, wonderful, and adorable wife, Joyce. So, who helps me out in so many ways, I can't even begin to enumerate them. Oh, did you know? I found that out this week.
What?
My last thing I will tell you this week. We all know the word illiterate, right?
Yes.
Because it's for kids who haven't learned to read or don't know how to read, yeah? There's also a word, because I read this story, I guess in the New York Post or somewhere, about how bad it's been for kids who aren't being able to go to school and they're being homeschooled or homebound or they're not getting the proper education. So we're going to be raising a new generation of illiterates. Did you know there's the word enumerates?
Yeah, without numbers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What a wonderful
numeracy.
word.
Yeah, I do it all the time when he taught stats. Enumeracy.
Enumerates.
Yeah,
Enumeracy.
Mm-hmm.
Like illiteracy.
Exactly.
What a wonderful word. I learned a word this week. That's as good as anything. A wonderful word, enumerate.
Yes.
Ah. And speaking of words, I want to remind you one more time, davelefkowitz.org. davelefkowitz.org is the place that I've got all my old theater reviews, so many of my one-act and full-length plays, the interviews that I've done, all my written stuff I'm compiling. I'm putting on this website. There's like almost 800 items on there now.
Oh, I think your guest wants to move his show time again.
Not again.
I think so.
The time or the day?
I think the April 27th or 20th.
Well, we'll talk about this after. Really?
I don't know.
Really,
He
Richie?
emailed you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll deal.
Yeah.
Anywho, on that note, we're going to close the show. It is our 790th episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Folks, it's sunny outside. I think it's still kind of cold, but we got some nice weather coming up. It's springtime. Enjoy. And gone by.
Days gone by, they're gone by. Days gone by, they're gone by. Days gone by, they're gone by.
I didn't even mention, we just got this potato this week. He's a new potato. How do you feel? How do you like the show? Stupid. Gone by.